OTL Releasing presents a BH production and Goalpost Pictures production in association with Automatic Entertainment, Nervous Tick, and Film Victoria. Upgrade.
I'm not going to give you bird flu, kid.
I don't leave my house very often. It must be frustrating for you, someone who likes to get things done with their hands. Now you can't. I'm sorry, was that inappropriate? I'm not around people enough to know the difference.
Okay, here's the difference. What the fuck do you want, Aaron?
Gray, what if I told you I could offer you something that would enable you to walk again? That computer chip I showed you, it has the potential to change everything for people in your condition. As a quadriplegic, the line connecting your brain to your limbs has been cut. STEM would bridge the gap. The operation would take place in my home, away from official eyes. There'd be no more hospitals, but it would have to be our secret, for now.
Here's the thing, kid. I'm not looking to restart my life. I'm looking for the off switch.
You know, you were right about them, computers. There are things that they can't do. They can't bring her back, Gray, but they just might be able to bring you back. What would she want? In the not-too-distant future, a violent mugging leaves mechanic Gray Trace paralyzed in the hospital and his beloved wife, Asha, dead. A billionaire inventor named Aaron soon offers Gray a cure, an artificial intelligence implant named STEM that will enhance his body. Now able to walk, Gray finds that he also has superhuman strength and agility, skills he uses to seek revenge against the thugs who destroyed his life. Welcome to another feature presentation of Midnight Double Feature, and on this episode, we'll be covering 2018's Upgrade, directed by Leigh Whannell.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another feature presentation episode of Midnight Double Feature. We are covering Upgrade on this episode, and we are joined by Matthew. Matt, welcome to a feature presentation, another one.
G'day, gang. It's been a while. How are we doing?
We are good. Colin, how you doing?
I am doing excellent, man. I'm excited to have the triumphant trio on. I consider myself an honorary Aussie. Fuck you, Danny. And I think that I'm happy to be talking about a fucking goddamn written and directed by Australia, filmed in Australia with two fucking Australians on this podcast. So fucking I even though I can't claim that culture. I'm not doing a cultural appropriation. I'm still like, dude, I'm fucking pumped.
Yeah, man. I was gonna say I always have this sense of pride whenever we cover an Australian film. Whether it's The Babadook or Mad Max Fury Road, and now with Upgrade, I'm glad to finally get another Aussie director under our belt.
Yeah, and Leigh Whannell is quickly becoming my personal favorite Australian director. Right after this, he went into The Invisible Man, which Zohib and I covered in upcoming attractions. Shout outs to that, yay. And I'm loving it, man. Although technically this is a co-production with America, but fuck you, we're claiming this. This is ours, okay?
Right. This is
shot in Melbourne, edited in Sydney, I believe. And yeah, fucking great movie. I love this movie so much.
Absolutely. Before we do get lost in the weeds with our thought, let's plug our socials real quick. Guys, thank you so much for joining us here at Midnight Double Feature. This is, like I said, a feature presentation episode. We're going to be going through the movie sequentially. We're going to be talking about it. We're going to be spoiling it. So if you haven't seen this movie, turn this off, come back, watch the movie, and then come back, because trust me, it's worth it. And you can, if you want to join in on the conversation, you can follow us on Facebook, which is our main page is called Midnight Double Feature, and then we have our offshoot community page, which is called The After Party. That's 3 words, The After Party. That's where our community gets together and talks all things movies. We post memes, news, and other hijinks. And we're also on Instagram if you're so photogenically inclined. That handle is at Midnight Double Feature. And then we're on Twitter, which is at MDF Pod. And we still currently have a competition going at the moment that we will close very soon. So this competition is if you rate and review us on iTunes, screenshot that review and send it to midnightdoublefeature@gmail.com. You can go into the running to win your very own feature presentation episode. That's me and Colin or Danny and Matt, depending on who's available, will cover your movie that you select and dedicate our hard-earned, I guess our time, right? I mean, our time is our most valuable thing that we have. So, we're not going to give you money. So there you go.
and if you're, I just want to give another plug. If you're listening and you're like, who the fuck is this other guy? Midnight Double Feature, in addition to the feature presentations, also have upcoming attractions where we talk about upcoming movies, reviews, news, trailers, all that fun stuff. And that's where you'll find me with Zoheb the other half of the time. So, yeah.
Right, exactly. And we alternate those episodes every week. So, no matter what week it is, you're always going to get some Midnight Double Feature content. So there you go. Guys, let's dive into our thoughts on Upgrade. Matt, you've already... I guess we've all kind of tipped our hand, right? On how we feel about this movie. This movie was my choice. I guess it's a bit of a different pick for me. If you're a listener and you're like, I wonder who picked this movie, I guess you'd automatically choose that this might be a Matt Vella pick. But that's not the case. Matt, give us your thoughts on Upgrade.
I fucking love this movie. It's fucking great. Thanks for having me on for this. When I heard you guys do an Upgrade, I'm like, bitch, I'm on this one, okay?
Yeah, me and Colin were in simpatico. I picked this, and then Colin's like, yeah, we need to get Matt on for that. I'm like, I was just about to type this and send it. So,
I would not have allowed it. I would have flipped the table. I saw this movie at Sydney Film Festival and was like, holy fucking shit. And was like, Zoheb, you need to see this. I'll let you, I think you wanted to touch on that, so I'll let you tell the story, but fucking love this movie. When I saw it, as an indie filmmaker myself, I was just fucking inspired to just plug something in mind real quick. I did a short action film called Bleeding Backs, which is out on YouTube. Follow Velamat Films to find that, which was done in 2016. But when I saw this in, I think it was 2018, I'm watching it, I'm like, fuck, this is what I want to do one day. This is the dream because I'm looking at the color grading and the tone and all that. And it was just fucking inspiring to me to see. This film was done on about $5 million, which is fucking nothing.
3 million.
3 million, yeah. But I believe due to the Australian producer offset, I think some of that money they were able to get back and they put back into the film or something like that. So I don't know if that counts that. I don't know. Anyways, doesn't matter. It's done for fucking peanuts compared to most Hollywood films. And it's up there with it. The writing is amazing. The concept is incredible. It does what Tarantino loves to do where he just picks and chooses his favorite elements from other films and mishmashes them. And this is it's definitely Terminator 1, RoboCop. It's all there for this. And I fucking love that, man. And it's just seeing a film like this done like that is just so incredibly inspiring for me. I saw this, I think there was a quick introduction from Leigh Whannell when I saw it, which is pretty cool, and he was sort of touchy on that. And this is Blumhouse's first non-horror film, I believe. And that's how much faith they had in this director and this film. So that's just, that says a lot as it is. I'll shut the fuck up because I could go on forever. But I will say, preparing for this episode, I had a very interesting experience. Because I decided to save some money and I decided to watch this via an app called 7 Plus for our non-Australian listeners.
Why would you do that?
Well, I've never used it before. I'm like, it can't be that bad, right? But what it is for our non-Australian listeners, Channel 7 is a big channel, free-to-air network thing out here. And they have this new app called 7 Plus, and it actually runs okay. It's not that bad. But fuck, man, they love putting the ads in this, and these are long ad breaks. So that was really not fun. And at one point, it crashed on me, and I had to find my part again. So if I ever randomly go quiet for a little bit, it's because I'm waiting through the commercials to find the part where
It's like, did we lose Matt? Nope, he's just being subjected to commercials.
Yeah, like some fucking insurance commercial, something. I can't remember the last time I watched a movie with commercials, bro. It is fucking weird, and I can't believe like this used to be normal like 10 years ago. Everybody used to watch movies like this all the time. It's insane to me. So. Yeah. Let's pass it on.
We can go into how the landscape has changed.
If you want, I guess.
Changed, but no, I'm good, dude. That was a joke. I was sarcasm. Colin, give me your thoughts on Upgrade, dude. I know you love this film.
Yeah, absolutely. I own this. I went and saw it in theaters the weekend it came out. This is something that's high concept, low budget. I'm fucking there. Boom. Sci-fi, hard sci-fi. I'm there. You guys obviously know my tastes and stuff. I'm a big champion of movies like RoboCop and Terminator, Blade Runner. And I do think that this is I think that we can put this up, and I don't think this is as good as, Blade Runner, but do I think this is as good as like RoboCop and stuff? Like it is, and it isn't, those things have Terminator and RoboCop and Blade Runner. They all have very distinctive kind of taste. But so does this. I mean, this has its very own kind of flavor to add to that. And I think that you can put this in the kind of Rushmore of like the newer versions. I feel like these are the new, like kind of Young Turks, these are the new kids on the block that are taking, not taking the place of those movies, because you never could take the place of Blade Runner, RoboCop, and Terminator. Those are huge franchises, but I think in terms of modern filmmaking, some stuff like this, the bigger sci-fi movies that are coming out right now, stuff like Midnight Special that came out, and like Underwater and stuff like that are kind of sci-fi horror-esque movies. And they're really, while we're also getting this great renaissance of horror with Get Out and Hereditary and Midsommar and Us and stuff like that, we're also getting this great kind of subwave of like real good Ex Machina and Automata. We're getting this really fantastic hard sci-fi kind of stuff, because I think that the audiences are able to, where movies like Blade Runner might not have been successful back in the day, Blade Runner would be an absolute knockout today, and I think that it's just because it's the modern audience. We don't really want to see the hero fight the bad guy and run off into the sunset with a girl. Like, we've seen that 1,000 times. So this really kind of takes that that I don't want to say tropey, because but this movie has been done several times in many different fashions. It's the revenge flick, it's Mad Max, it's Death Wish, it's all these different kind of revenge flicks, but with a very, very unique twist and taste on it. And I honestly, as I'm watching this, I'm like, fuck, I think this might be one of the best films made in the last like 10 years. I think this is absolutely phenomenal. I don't have any problem like saying that, that's my opinion. Obviously there's somebody who's going to come out and be like, well, dude, I mean Suicide Squad, and that's just as valid, fucking let them believe whatever they want, but
Colin, Suicide Squad has an Oscar, right? That immediately makes it better than Upgrade.
It doesn't. Does it really have an Oscar?
Yes,
best makeup and hairstyle.
Oh, okay. Well, I will say that is, they do a damn good job on the effects, but with this movie, I love Logan Marshall Green. We've talked about him before on The Invitation. Obviously, he's in
shitty Tom Hardy.
Right. Yeah. And the funny part is, now as I'm watching it, I'm like, I like Tom Hardy. He's never going to put in a bad performance, but I kind of like Logan Marshall Green more. I think that there is something he brings to the table where Tom Hardy, he is always kind of that tough guy, warrior, Mad Max, like kind of thing. Versus, he plays Bronson, for God's sakes. But then Logan Marshall Green has a great vulnerability that Tom Hardy does not have. And I don't see that a lot in his performances. And I really like Logan Marshall Green from that, because you can tell so much from his eyes and his facial expressions and stuff. But I saw so many reviews for this movie where they're like, yeah, I totally thought this was a Tom Hardy movie. And, I thought that this was going to be like a Hemsworth Skarsgård kind of thing, where I was like, oh, that's Ben Hardy, that's Tom Hardy's brother, whatever. And I was like, oh no, that's totally not the case. It's how many roles has this dude fucking lost because of Tom Hardy? It's like, it kind of sucks, but I really, really love him in this. I think that he does a fantastic job between, he plays overconfident. He plays, absolutely destroyed. He plays terrified. He plays manic. He switches gears into so many different, so many different emotions in this and does such a great job doing it that as I'm watching this movie, I'm like, dude, this is kind of just like Mad Max. It's like a dude who's, he loses his wife and goes after the bad guys. And at the beginning, he's working on a big black sports car. It's like, dude, come on, man. I was like, it's like, come on. But all in all, I think this is a fantastic movie. I think that I haven't seen Invisible Man. My girlfriend actually just saw it a couple days ago. She said she really, really enjoyed it.
Watch it, man. Oh my God. Well,
and the shitty part is like, now with movies out, like there was nowhere for me to rent this, so I had to buy it. I didn't care. Shut up and take my $15. I don't care. I'll fucking buy it. I love it. But I think that for how good it was, I don't want to say it flew under the radar because it really did. I mean, I went and saw it. Everybody in this room has seen it. But in terms of how good it is, it flew under the radar. It needed. I think it deserved more exposure than it got. But I fucking love it. I don't have like I'll be watching a movie and be like, oh, that he fucked up that right there. But then they rectify that, like later on with fingerprints or with this and that. I'm like, dude, that's going to get found out. And somebody brings it up. I was like, damn, they know what I feel like this movie knew what I was going to criticize before I criticize. It's like, that's fucking crazy. But I think, kudos to Leigh Whannell. He's come a long way since Saw and Insidious. And now I think that, I like James Wan. I like the Conjuring movies. I like Insidious and stuff. But based off of this, I kind of think I'm kind of, like moving over into the Leigh Whannell camp more than the James Wan. I think that he's got more sensibilities that I like. They're both fantastic filmmakers, but if Invisible Man and Upgrade are kind of the track that he's on with these almost like sci-fi horror films, dude, I'm totally fucking down for it. I'm really excited to see, much like when we were talking about with Edgar Wright last weekend with Baby Driver. I'm really, really excited to see where Leigh Whannell's career is going to go and what he's going to do in the future, because this is an absolute powerhouse of a movie, and I fucking love it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Just to add to what you were saying about Leigh Whannell's background a little bit. I'll spend a little bit of time talking about him. I was listening to an interview. He was on a podcast very recently promoting The Invisible Man, and he was talking about his first film, which was Insidious Chapter 3. Mm-hmm. He was a big part of the Insidious franchise before that. Having started it, and with his friend James Wan directing. He was talking about how he directed Chapter 3, and he's like, "Oh, I had really fun with that, but I felt like that it was someone else's toys that I'm playing with."
Yes.
Like I didn't feel like it was my baby. And then he made Upgrade, and he's just like, all right, you know what, this is more my speed. And then Universal, I think, called him in for an interview, and he thought that they were going to offer him a sequel to do Upgrade, and they were like, what do you think about The Invisible Man? And he's like, all right, well, look, I would take it in this whole domestic thriller kind of like situation. And, Universal loved that. And then, he just kind of like went on from there. So, this is a guy who, he came up with that whole like domestic violence aspect of The Invisible Man on the spot. And this is a guy who I think just thrives under like taking different genres and kind of like blending them and mixing them in different ways that you don't really expect. Like this, especially Upgrade, is 100% like that, like an embodiment of that concept. Also, just quickly, you mentioned Tom Hardy and Logan Marshall Green. It's such an awesome coincidence that this movie stars Logan Marshall Green and Venom stars Tom Hardy, and both of those movies are conceptually like similar. So
they're the same movie, basically.
Yeah, I didn't want to go past that, like that connection. But yeah,
can I just speak on that connection real quick? So I would say, in addition to that, another film which is very similar and very recent is Vin Diesel's Bloodshot. I would say Venom, Upgrade, and Bloodshot are very similar films, but what really separates them all apart is Upgrade is amazing. And also, like, those two, it shows what happens like when a studio is involved and how safe they can get. But then when you're dealing with a low budget and a visionary as a director, how much freedom they have. Like, obviously, like Bloodshot and Venom could never go down the route of like, the very like B-grade horror deaths in this film, like the practical effect gore that happens. Like, you would not expect that in a movie like this. And even like the making the plots, as it's not super complex, but the sci-fi aspect of it is a little like highbrow there. You would not get that in these like very big films. And Zoheb mentioned before about, you know, how Insidious is playing with someone else's toys, and I think that's the danger of the big Hollywood blockbuster filmmaking, the franchise filmmaking, is the director's always going to be directing with like one hand tied behind their back, and this sort of shows the freedom a director can have and what they can do with it, which is incredible. And of course, it's kind of crazy to think how much Tom Hardy and Logan Marshall Green look alike. It's pretty funny.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, dude. I kind of fell asleep because you talked about Bloodshot, so I was like, all right. But yeah, look, yeah, no, you're 100% on the money there. Like, there's, you know, especially with these big comic book movies like Venom and Bloodshot, who are actually based on comics. Like, those two, you know, there's certain expectations that come with them. Like, fans expect a certain thing, so you can't really do like what Upgrade does. You know, like, you can't kind of go under the radar and break away from the conventions of that kind of storytelling. Like, that's what Venom's, I think, tied to. But yeah, look, Upgrade. When this trailer came out, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really have much interest in watching it. I just thought it was like I kind of came in with some preconceived notions. I was like, I don't know. It just looks like an action movie. I'll check it out if I'm free, whatever. And, you know, a couple of weeks passed and I hadn't seen it yet, and Matt was just like raving about it. So, Matt, you dragged me to go see it with you. We watched it at Penrith. We watched it at like, I think 9:30 at night on a work day, if I'm not mistaken. And the entire cinema was empty, so it was like very romantic. We held hands, you know. It was very cute.
You cut a hole in the bottom of the popcorn, you know.
Yeah, you know. There's all that going on. Somewhere in the background, someone was playing porno music. I don't know, maybe. But yeah, no. Honestly, I sat there and I watched this with you, and man, I had a great time watching this. You know, it's fun. It's okay. It's dark, but it's fun. Like, it is. Yeah. Like, it doesn't let up. Like, there is no boring moments. You know, like, once you, like, there might be a bit of a lull here and there where it's like, oh, Gray's trying to come to grips with like the murder of his wife. You know, like, but they don't let that go on for too long. The movie keeps on flowing. Like, at 100 minutes, the pacing of this is just absolutely incredible. And then, you know, like, I like finished the movie and I was just like, Matt, I kind of like want to, like, if it's not, you know, because it's 12:30 in the morning right now when this movie finished, I kind of want to turn around and watch this again. But yeah, this is a great film, man. Like, honestly, I can't thank you enough for dragging me to go see this, because yeah, it would have 100% gone under my radar. But yeah, this movie, like you said, like both of you guys said, just kind of cleaning up the back end here. It's just it's a hodgepodge of like different movies and concepts, like, you know, RoboCop. I even, you know, like Colin, you mentioned Ex Machina. I even picked up some Inception, like at the end. Yes. And yeah, and we'll talk about that. But yeah, this is it's just a great movie, and honestly, I'm just so proud of Leigh Whannell, like how far he's come. I mean, I remember, you know, when I was a kid, actually buying the DVD Saw. You know, I was way too young, right? I mean, like, I was way too young to buy the DVD, but I mean, hey, like, you know, my parents don't really give a shit about violence, you know. So, you know, me and my brother are there watching it, and then, you know, you, like, as you're growing up, you come to find out that the character of Adam is Leigh Whannell, and, you know, you find out that they, like, this was originally a student film, and it just kind of like goes from there. Leigh Whannell met James Wan in RMIT in Melbourne, and, you know, just this whole kind of like, it makes you amazingly, just so weirdly proud to be Australian. And yeah, I just have that kind of like sense like behind this movie. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it, man. I love this movie. What do you guys say we get right into this bitch?
Before we do, can I just quickly say also, two notes I forgot to mention before. Something we haven't mentioned a reference to Iron Man. I think what the whole Jarvis element in Iron Man of like him talking to a robot, that's been replicated in a few other films. Even Venom tried to do it, but like no film has done it as well as this. And you can really start seeing Leigh's style start to come to place towards the ending, because that twist is very Saw, I feel, like the double twist even. And when I saw that, I'm like, fuck, yeah, like it's the guy from Saw who made this, right? And even Invisible Man, you get a little bit of a vibe like that at the end. Like, this guy knows how to direct and write a fucking twist. It's pretty incredible. And my final point is, I just want to give a few shout outs to a few people I know. Benjamin Norton, who, for those who don't know, I run a filmmaking group called the Western Sydney Filmmakers Hangout for indie filmmakers in Western Sydney. He actually did the interviews on the DVD Extras to Upgrade with Leigh Whannell. And another mate of mine, Jake Dobby, who worked on the special effects in this. Particularly, I think he did the tracking. So I don't know if they're listening, but shout outs to those guys.
Nice. Well, and really quick, which one of you guys met Leigh Whannell?
I went to a Q&A that he did.
You. Fuck you, goddammit, man. That is so fucking cool, man. Like, I knew you were too modest to actually be like, let me name drop here, so I'm name dropping for you, motherfucker. But like, dude, that is awesome, man. Like, I was so like happy when I saw you, man. I was like, dude, that'd be like me meeting Edgar Wright, you know? I was like, oh my God, that's my guy, you know, like that's so fucking cool. But last thing I really want to say just really quick is also Bloodshot Venom Upgrade, The Rise of the Anti-Hero. I was like, that really, that I think that's something to be pointed out as well, as like
Deadpool.
Right, exactly. We like our heroes, but we want our heroes with a little dirt under their nails. And I think that this is a Deadpool, Deadpool, Bloodshot, Deadshot, whatever. All of those films that we've been talking about are perfect examples of that. And Logan Marshall Green, didn't he pop up in like Spider-Man Homecoming for like 10 seconds?
Homecoming, yeah. He was shotgun number one.
Right, okay. Right, he popped up for a minute, and because you know I had never seen that, and I actually bought it on Fandango for like $5, and I'm watching it at the gym. I was like, oh, Logan Marshall Green is Shocker, and then like 10 minutes later, I'm like, okay, Logan Marshall Green is not Shocker, like, but still, that's really cool. I'm really pumped for. I think that it's awesome that we all three of us have such different tastes. Not just film wise, music wise, and culturally and stuff, but it's like the meme of all the knights with their swords at the edge of at the center of the table, but ours is Leigh Whannell in the middle, and we're like, yes, like all of us are just. I think I can feel the excitement in this, so I'm definitely ready to jump in.
Absolutely, dude. Just to really, really, really quickly add to that, I didn't mention anything about The Invisible Man. The Invisible Man is absolutely incredible. One of the best horror movies I've seen in the last 10 years. I'm not even gonna like just sugarcoat that. Like that's way out there. So like this is a director who just gets better and better with each movie, and I cannot wait to see what he does next. But yeah,
I smell another feature presentation coming up. That's for sure.
The movie's not even out yet, dude.
No, you can get it. Yeah. You can buy it now. Like I can buy it on like VOD. Amazon or something. You know.
Yeah. All right. So we get hit with this score immediately. I mean, me being a score guy, loved it, right? This synth, and then like it just fits the tone of the movie, and like just sets out exactly what this is going to be. I've never seen anything like this. Like the way this kind of like AI voice announces the film studios, like Film Victoria and stuff, and then it announces the title, and I was like, whoa, that's super fucking unique.
Right?
Yeah, man. I love it when movies like they try and play with the logos in the beginning. Like the first film I ever saw do that was The Matrix, and ever since then I've been like, probably someone's done it before. I bet like Space Jam or something did it probably. But I'm always like trying to like look for like what are they going to do to change things. Like, you know, Zombieland had the Paramount lady like fucking fight zombies and shit. But like this is like a whole new approach to that. And even, that just automatically gets you as a viewer because like, oh, okay, this is going to be different.
Yeah, absolutely. Colin, I heard you in there.
Oh, no, I was just going to say the guy who did the score, because you're exactly right. I mean, you are definitely more of like the score guy. But this score was so good. Jed Palmer is who does this, and I don't think he's really done anything like as big as this, or definitely as notable. But I went out immediately on Spotify and found it, and I was like, dude, and they actually shot a music video for my favorite track on this official soundtrack. I was like, dude, what official soundtrack gets a fucking music video? I was like, that's crazy.
Awesome.
And it's very cerebral and weird. It looks like a Tool video. It's real weird, but it's absolutely fantastic. So I'll have a couple of tracks to drop like here here and there, only about 2 of them, but it's definitely worthwhile. And I was like, dude, this score absolutely blew me away at certain points. It's like, this is amazing.
Oh, for fuck's sake. That means I got to edit more. Great. We meet Gray Trace. Hey, by the way, hate that fucking name.
Yep, same here.
Hate that goddamn name, dude. Is he the manager of a Starbucks? Like, I don't understand.
Well, and the thing that kills me is like that's my middle name is spelt the same way with like an E, and it absolutely. I was like Gray Trace.
I don't
like,
mind Gray. It's Trace. Like it's the combination of Gray Trace.
Right. I don't even need a last name. You know, we don't know Ash's. We don't know. You know, we know Aaron's. You know, because he's so infamous. Really weird actually, because I also went to a school with a good friend of mine named Aaron Keene. And it was very weird when that popped up. I was like, wait, what? And I was like, I haven't spoken to that guy in years. So I was like, what the fuck, Aaron Keene? But yeah, no, I absolutely hated it. Totally on board.
I got a question for you guys. And I think I'm a little bit lower on it than you guys are. Do you guys really like the character of Gray?
Matt, you go ahead. All right, never mind. No, I'm just kidding.
No, because it's an interesting question because I did find myself at points in the film thinking about I haven't fully formed this thought, but like I think I do like him, but there's nothing about him besides the fact that he's old school and tries to like work with his hands that really stands out. Like, but that being said, like he's almost cartoonishly against technology. Like, I know this takes place in the future, like not too distant future, but surely he's grown up with technology. Like, babies these days are pretty much born with an iPad in his hands. Why does this guy hate technology so much? I don't get that. I do think like his personality is very like action hero syndrome, where it's like
a little 2D.
It's a little stock. You know, but it is nice every now and then to get a movie that's sort of action based, where the character isn't like trying to be Tony Stark the whole time. Like every character nowadays feels like it's being played by Chris. What's his name? Fucking Star-Lord. Chris whatever
Pratt.
the fuck is Chris Pratt. Yeah, like he's not. I like the fact that he's not constantly doing jokes. I do like how at first he's kind of scared of what's going on, and I like how later when he's like when kills people, he's scared of that, but he doesn't have a lot of personality. So, but I think the situation he's put in makes him react in normal ways. That's enough to sort of get by, but it's not exactly like his personality is super memorable, you know?
See, I respectfully disagree with both of you, because I think that kind of like what I said at the beginning, he goes through such an onslaught of stuff that it's interesting to, at the beginning, is he really that interesting of a person? No, he's a grease monkey. You know, he likes to work with his hands. He's batting way out of his league with Asha, by the way. Fuck you, Logan Marshall Green. I don't care. Like, that chick is way out of your league. But seeing the onslaught of stuff as it goes on, it's almost like a reverse onion. You know, the more layers you peel, there's more there. Whereas we see him, when you think he starts as a full-bodied regular person, no upgrades or anything, then he goes for a quadriplegic, then he becomes, you know, it's kind of like he goes from the everyman to kind of downgrade to then like way past where he was before. So it's interesting to see him kind of change with all that, because there are, you know, there's great moments. You didn't know I was a fucking ninja, did you? You know, and you see him getting very arrogant, but then once he's in that wheelchair and stuff and he starts crying, it's like, dude, that's heartbreaking, man. Like, it's really hard to like, I was immediately infatuated with this character, because I think that if you look at it, yes, it's a little 2D, but I think that part of it is intentional so that we can kind of implant ourselves in him. You know, he's not John Everyman, you know, but there is some stuff where it's like, this guy is from our world. He's not from, I've read some stuff where this film might be set in like 2046, somewhere around there. So you got to think this guy's probably born in, you know, 2005, 2010 or something. So looking at it, I'm like, you know, yes, like what you guys said, you know, I've got nephews that are that age, and they can't possibly like look away from their phones. So when they're this guy's age, of course, they're going to be balls deep in all this tech. But I feel like this guy is kind of from our world. Whereas like, I remember a time briefly without internet, you know, I remember a time without a cell phone and stuff. So I feel like this guy he's kind of like a man out of time. I think I feel like if there was a little bit more given to the fact that like, what if he was just into antiques? Like this guy is into antiques. He writes with a pen and paper. He does these cards and stuff. So I think that I definitely agree that it can come across that way, but I think that it might be there on purpose a little bit because we're in a world that is not ours at all. And we're being subjected to stuff that's like, dude, what the fuck? But because he's in it, it actually kind of gives us like one foot in reality for me personally.
Yeah, like it's definitely plot driven rather than character driven. But what I do notice a lot is what I notice with a lot of films these days is when a character's put in a situation where they're going to be depressed or sad for the majority of the movie, it sort of catches us off guard when they're not like that. Like I recently saw a pretty bad film. I'll probably talk about in the next upcoming attractions, The Hunt. When and this main character is like almost ready to cry at all times. So whenever that character goes and try and be funny or something out of that, it sort of catches you off guard. And I feel like that happens with Gray in this movie. Like when he does that fucking ninja scene, I'm like, whoa, where's this coming from? But that's because you forget like he's a person before all this shit happened to him. We just don't see a lot of that, you know?
Sure.
Colin, I like your point that the character of Grey is kind of like an avatar for us as viewers. I like that. The whole him being kind of indifferent to technology, that doesn't really have that much weight on me because I've seen characters like this before. This is John McClane from Die Hard. John McClane has an adverse to technology. He hates fucking cell phones. He's got this thing where he's like, I need to get hands on. I don't trust like technology. That's literally what Die Hard 4 was all about. But I mean, I don't know. Like I've seen that done before, so it doesn't really have that much of an impact on me. But yeah, no, I think he's an okay character. I don't think he's super amazing or anything like that. I think sometimes he is a bit too quippy. Like sometimes I'm just like, I don't know, tone it down a little bit for me.
Sure, I agree with that.
Yeah. So yeah, we meet Asha Trace, and we're given a sense as to when this movie takes place. Right, futuristic self-driving cars. The car asks her if she's okay. For fuck's sake! Like, I mean, we're pretty far in the future, right?
Right.
And also, I don't love the way these cars look. I just want to say it. The interior.
It looks like a Tesla.
It looks like a weird Lego Tesla. The interior looks cool. But the outdoor of it, the exterior of it, just seems a little. It looks like
it's driven on solar panels. I think
it looks like someone's trying to make it look sci-fi.
Well, the funny part is that this came out in 2018, and then last year we got those ugly like Tesla cars. It's like, dude, that looks a hell of a lot like that. It looks like it looks like the fucking the personal carrier vehicle in Aliens, it's like, ugh, that's not attractive at all. That's ugly.
Nice. Yeah.
Can I, you know what isn't ugly though? This Asha character.
Holy shit.
I don't know the name of this actress, but the little screen time she does have, she owns it. She comes across as so natural. I love the way even when she's here with him with the beer and she just has like an extra laugh before she walks off. Like she just seems so natural, and I don't know if the two of these actors have a lot of chemistry with each other, but she definitely is like
she's great,
shooting out like charisma. She is like, I understand why he's so in love with her. She just seems so fucking lovable, man. Like it's great.
And I also
great performance.
I also want to throw it's a Melanie Vallejo, and I think that you're exactly right. The little bit of screen time she has. I don't want to
impact.
Yes, exactly. I don't want to say that it's all based off of her physical appearance. Obviously, she's a very attractive woman. Logan Marshall Green, very handsome man. But the thing is, when we see her, we need a character, we need an actress, we need an actor or performer that's going to come in, and as soon as we see them, they're going to light up a room. And that's exactly what she does. It's like night to day when she walks in, dude. And that smile, you're just like, even if you're not attracted to a woman, you can't help but be like, that is a friendly face. That's what the great part, whether we can go into whether she's attractive or blah, blah, blah or not, but it's so nice to see somebody who actually smiles, and it's just this loving character in this middle of like cyberpunk awful shit, Well,
it's her personality, right? Like it's she, like you say, like she walks in and she lights it up, but like she does it like almost with her attitude as well. and her body language. It's so on there. It also makes you think how opposite these characters are. Like she's very like she literally works in AI technology. She is very bubbly. He's a bit more reserved. He's a bit more I don't want to say wooden, but a bit more serious. So yeah, I guess, but that what are they? Two different characters with opposite like outlooks on life. That's the source for a lot of great drama in film.
Yeah, for sure. They kind of hammer his like, I guess not hatred. Maybe hatred's a strong word, but just the fact that he dislikes technology pretty hard here. Like they flirt. She talks about let's print a pizza, and he says let's make a pizza. Like that's good and all. I think some of this dialogue is a little rough though. Like can't lives on won't straight. That kind of had me being like, oh,
I love that line, dude.
Oh god,
I'm with Zohab. The first act, particularly these first few scenes, it is a little bit
setup,
like
yeah.
They're really trying to get a lot of exposition out of the way, but. The reason I'm not super critical of it is because I understand what Leigh Whannell's trying to do here. He's trying to get all this shit out of the way as quickly as possible. He's trying to set it up as efficiently as he can to try and get us into the drama as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But like it's always gonna be hard to do that quickly and organically. And I think that's the trade-off. Either you do it slowly and organically and make it a slow burn, but this movie is never going to be a slow burn, a film like this. And then, or you do it this way where it's kind of like you try and hammer it out as quickly as you can just so you can get to the good shit.
Yep, absolutely. We get these overhead shots of the city that look awesomely futuristic. Again, it's like, how the fuck is this made on a $3 million budget?
Yes.
And it just, like, it's so well shot as they pull up to Aaron Keen's estate. And I'm just like, God damn, is that Trans Am sexy? Like, I have a bit of an affinity for, like, old school American muscle cars, man. Love it.
Well, and there's something, I mean, Elon, come on, this dude's Elon Musk. Like, I don't think that there's any, but there's also something interesting about when we see Gray. The funny part is not in just namesake alone, but there is a little bit of like a color spectrum thing going on because we see he has a white shirt with black kind of like splotches on it. So it's like he's not 100%, clean. And then after the operation, he has a gray shirt on. And then at the end of the movie, it's black. And it's like, dude, he's slowly descending into this thing. But then at the very end, when we get kind of psych out, he's in all white. And I was like, oh, okay, this is really cool. Like it's kind of hard to miss, but as you see it, like you can tell that he's not 100%, he is an anti-hero. And I really enjoy it. I think that comes across in the colors very well.
Absolutely. We meet Aaron, who's playing with a cloud. This dude's a weirdo. I mean, it's like, did they try and search for a discount Jared Leto from Blade Runner 2049? Right? I mean, or Dane DeHaan from Chronicles.
Yes, there you go. You fucking beat me to it, man.
That's funny. Look, can I ask a question to you guys here? Because this is my only major thing that sticks out to me.
Matt,
I'm
this
just,
is
I'm
not
just
a
fucking
platform for
ignoring
you to
Colin.
ask questions.
What is up with this cloud? Does this somehow tie into STEM? And like, I don't know, like I get it, cloud is, but I feel like they're not trying to make a joke here with that. Like, is there something here in this scene that I'm not getting, or is it just being weird for the sake of being weird? Like, what do you guys take away from this cloud situation? Am I looking too much into it?
I think you are. I just kind of took it as like him working on some kind of technology that we don't really need more information on. I don't know. What do you think, Colin?
I'm 50-50 split. I think that if it were something like I'm trying to literally control the weather, it's like, okay, that sounds like something this guy would try and do, but do we need that explained? That's just kind of what I took it as is, okay, so this guy thinks he's Halle Berry in X-Men, I guess. I don't know. But that's just kind of what I took away from it. But I do think his personality is enough to come across as extremely eccentric. He comes across as like very Jesse Eisenberg and Social Network kind of, it's like, okay, we get it, dude. You're weird and you live in a bubble type shit, that I didn't need this, the tree and stuff and the whole, and I didn't need it. I do feel like it is kind of like, okay, if we're not going to explain this, why is this here? It just kind of feels like, meh,
Like, I feel like it's got something to do with him trying to create life or something. And
sure, like playing God.
Maybe, and like I know, but the thing that keeps coming back to me is later on we find out, STEM's controlling him. So that must mean, does STEM have something to do with this? But I don't know. Also, I got one more question. How old is this guy meant to be here?
I don't know. I took
Is
it
he
as
young?
maybe drinking age, maybe. That because I mean Gray's calling him kid. I'm like, well, Gray's probably mid 30s, early 40s, maybe at the oldest. I was like, this kid's got to be like 18, 19, 20, 21. But he says later on, he's like, I haven't run the company in years. So I'm like, well, how old are you, dude? Like, you don't look a day over like 22, you know?
He looks 5 years old.
Right, yeah, exactly. He looks like Hitler's wet dream. Like this fucking like Aryan.
Nice.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I feel like, maybe they did want Jared Leto or something, but like, I feel like he should be a bit older, because I get it. If he's some tech genius at a young age, fair enough. I get it. But like, it just seems a little unrealistic. But this is me super nitpicking, and I don't want to do that with this film.
Asha introduces herself to Erin, saying she works for a company called Cobalt, and Erin shows them STEM, the most incredible little roach. It can do literally anything, a new, better brain. And he says it can do things that can benefit society. And of course, Gray is skeptical. He only sees 10 guys on an unemployment line, right? Always the pragmatist.
That's the entire political campaign of Andrew Yang, summed up in a sentence right there.
Well, I thought it was interesting that I read somewhere that STEM was kicked around as a title at first, and I kind of like that better than Upgrade. Like, Upgrade is a cool title, don't get me wrong, and I think it's very fitting, but I think that, like, if you saw this trailer and you were like, STEM, what the fuck is that? Like, there's so many different ways you can run with that like, I like Upgrade and it's fine, but I also wouldn't mind STEM at all. I think that's pretty cool.
I like STEM. Yeah, that's a good title. Usher and Gray are on the road. They start making out, and we get this crash sequence, right? Gray notice it's New Crown because that's where they grew up. The AI is not listening to them and continues to gain speed until boom. Dude, I love. Okay, here's one thing that that I'm really partial to. I love car crashes that show you the crash from the interior only. So like you kind of like see the like as them rolling around. This is done really well in this movie. Mission Impossible: Ghost Protocol did it. Tokyo Drift did it. Like, there's like a really like cool sequence right at the start. You see like a bottle of like Tabasco flying past him and shit. It's good, man. Yeah, this is really well done.
Last weird question I'll ask: is New Crown a real city in real life?
No.
Okay, I was trying to figure that out.
I was gonna say, don't fucking ask me. Like, I don't know. Like,
no.
Speaking
this
of
be America, right?
Right. Yeah. The thing that I thought was interesting is you were talking about crashes in cars. It made me think of when we covered Let Me In with Richard Jenkins, and the camera's just spinning. I watched that again the other day. It's on Hulu right now, and I was like, dude, forgot how great this movie is. We haven't talked about it. I haven't watched it in so long, and that's the first thing I was thinking of, was just watching this. It almost makes you nauseous, watching it in Let Me In. It just rolls around in the car for a minute, and I was like, all right, I got to look at the floor. Fuck.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, like, it gives you a sense of like just how chaotic a car crash is. I mean, like, as opposed to like looking at it from the exterior, you just got to see all the glass and bits flying around, and just how I don't know. Like, I love it. It's awesome.
It's very impactful. And speaking of impactful,
literally.
Yeah.
This scene's harrowing. Yeah. Let's talk about that scene. Drone Police is awesome, right?
Yeah. I'd say the concept of and this applies to any movie, of where a character is so helpless that they can't save the one they love when they're being like killed or something right in front of them. That is always like, such a you can really feel the heartstrings. And it's even more so in this case where he's paralyzed and he watches her die. Like, oh my God, I feel like I can relate to that. That is just fucking heartbreaking.
Well, yeah, and this, and what I also want to point out is that we're fucking 13 minutes into the movie. By the way, that's fantastic. We have pretty much set up every single character except for the detective and the mom. That's it. Like, these are all of our main players, and STEM, of course. But one thing that's also just hit me with is, I believe in the original Crow comic book, I think that they not kill him, but they paralyze Eric Draven. I think they do something. They shoot him and paralyze him, and that's where they all. And I really appreciate that there's not just the and I hate to even say this, like the almost like tropey, like the sexual assault kind of angle. Like, when I first saw this, I was like, that's going to happen. Like, and that was kind of fucked up. Like, I'm so used to seeing that in these almost like revenge type movies, like Straw Dogs, or in the original comic book of The Crow, that happens, or even in the movie that happens. And I was like,
I recently saw Law Abiding Citizen. That happens in the opening scene.
Right. I was just very happy that didn't happen, and I'm like, oh, cool, because this is bad enough, but it does nothing to serve the plot. There's no point in it being there, and I just wanted to note that. Like, I appreciate that. It's very hard for me to watch stuff like that on screen, and this scene is hard enough to watch as it is.
Absolutely.
Okay. Something I didn't catch on my first few times watching this, but I did on this other one, and I wonder if you guys caught it too, is when our villain here, the leader of them, I forgot his name, he does have a cameo. Fisk, yeah. This actor also has a cameo in Invisible Man. When he shoots them, it is like, you can see, if you look at the way he's moving his hand, it sort of happens a bit off screen, but he is using the wrist. Like, that you assume it is with a gun, but like later on you find out, no, he's like upgraded or whatever. I love how if you go back and rewatch it, you'll notice that, but you don't the first time around, because like they've intentionally sort of, I love how they've done it, but they haven't brought an attention to it, because in the point of view of the character, they wouldn't have had that brought to their attention.
Sure, right, exactly. I mean, like, the character's not going to immediately think, oh, that bullet came from his wrist. Like, just while you're speaking on that and about, watching the movie for a second time and picking up things, and we'll talk about it a bit more throughout as we go throughout the movie. If we watch this movie knowing, like, the second time that STEM is kind of like guiding Gray, like, to STEM's, I guess, benefit, it's super interesting to see how STEM really like is functioning, and how he's like kind of like nudging him in each direction. And you can only like pick that up like on second and third viewings. But we'll get there. Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah, and it's good writing when you do rewatch it, everything falls into place perfectly. Right. I do see some films where they try and do that, and then like it actually just creates more plot holes and stuff like that, and that's usually not great writing. But this is just amazing. Like, watching it now, you can tell like the device that's put into Gray's back, it's not a typical gun. It is some sort of device intended to paralyze. And you'll notice that Fisk isn't holding a weapon. But your first time watching it, you won't pick up on that because you're so caught up in the drama of the moment. And that's not just good writing, that's good directing.
Right. And like you said, Colin, this all escalates quickly, right? 10 seconds ago they were making out and now she's got a gut shot and she's dying. So, yeah. 3 months later, Gray's in a wheelchair and there's robotic arms to prep meals. That's pretty cool. And I think of like Dwight from The Office immediately. Like, right, like there's a line in The Office when like Michael's like, Dwight, why do you have a diary? And he's like, to keep secrets from my computer.
Well, and one thing I really appreciated just as a passage of time is the beard. I was like, cool, yeah. I like that. Like
a visual representation, yeah.
Right, and I love the feel that we get of like where the nurse and his mom are like, oh, that's so, oh my God. And then he's just not even looking at it. I was like, dude, it's so palpable. Not only his distaste for the thing that he's going to be solely reliant on these things. I think you could make a film out of that enough where it's like this is set in the future and it's somebody who's quadriplegic that's going to have to come to terms with this stuff. But then we have this whole other sci-fi riff on it. But I love his whole just total disdain for this, like his situation. This is actually one of my favorite parts of the movie is seeing him come to terms with the fact that not come to terms with the fact that this is his current situation. It's utterly heartbreaking. It is very hard. I have a very big soft spot for people who are in this situation or people who are like mentally handicapped. I can't watch stuff about this for long because it does get me, to be quite honest, very choked up. And it's hard for me to watch stuff like that. And seeing this, it really, really, really got me in the theater. I was like, no, it's fucking Sprite in my eye, dude. It's fucking Sprite, man.
Yeah. I really misty in here.
Right. I just really felt for him.
Yeah, this is one of those scenes where it just shows really great world building as well. Like they don't just stop within the first few. Some lazy sci-fi films will just cover it in some of the exterior shots and stuff. But like he's showing us these devices that can be used for everyday stuff. Like that's the stuff that makes like Star Wars like so last so long.
Sure,
it's the fact that like you can relate to that in everyday life, and it's believable. It's believable like use for it. Also, this starts to set up a great theme throughout the movie where Gray sort of needs to rely on technology. But what I love about it later on is like STEM also needs to rely on Grey, and that's like a symbiotic relationship. Not going to make a Venom pun there.
Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
Well, and the last thing that I'll say is, or not for the whole podcast, but about this is what's interesting is this is a movie about AI and robotics and stuff. We don't see one robot. Not at all. Not one robot the whole time. So it's like, I mean, we've seen people with robotic arms, and we are in the day and age where we see people who can actually like grip stuff with robotic arms right now at this moment. And that's fucking amazing. So it's like, this is not, if this is 30 years in the future, none of this is, I mean, except for STEM, maybe, none of this is really too far off. We have drones, we have self-driving cars, we have these robotic arms. It's like, none of this is really that far. There's no C-3PO.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
That's a great observation, man. Damn.
I loved it. I was like, dude, that's so, it's not iRobot. You know, I was like, I love this.
For sure. By the way, the AI of the house is a bit of a dick, right? It asks whether Asha is going to join them for dinner. Like, what?
Hi, Gray. I was just wondering if your girlfriend would be able to pick her guts back up and bring them to the dinner table to join it. Like, fuck you, dude.
Don't
fuck
forget,
you,
no
Siri.
elbows on the table.
Eat my ass, Alexa. Fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
I just also want to point out the one shot of his mother sort of bathing him by wiping him down. Like, that is just so sad.
Yeah, it's
right.
harrowing. Yeah.
And if anything is going to make that drive home, the reality of that, it's there. That followed by him like starting to like throw up and her helping.
For me, it's
him.
the involuntarily vomiting. Yeah, that's
the crying while cutting the beard is what just absolutely crushed me. It's just like, dude, I can't. The fact that you can't even bring your hand up to wipe away your own tears is like, dude, that's like Greek, the level of like Greek tragedy. It's like, oh my fucking God.
Trapped in your own body, right?
Right.
Incredible.
We meet Detective Cortez, who's interviewing Gray. Gray's pretty blunt, right? He wants to know how the cops are investigating the case. He's pretty pushy, wants to know who these guys are. Cortez mentioned some pretty cool like world-building stuff here, right? Like apparently people have ID chips in their fillings. And the police drones can identify them. That's some awesome shit, dude. Like, I don't know how that's going to work in terms of privacy law, but...
Right. Yeah. That's what I was saying. It's like, wait, you can ID me through my teeth? Like, nah, I don't think so. I was like, I don't think I think I'm getting dentures.
Yeah, that's some total, like, you know, government 1984 shit.
Right.
But yeah, apparently criminals can implement firewalls to get around those, blah, blah, blah. Gray's being pretty difficult. Like, he's not overly happy with the way the investigation is going. And he tries to overdose, right? Administer PM medicine.
Oh, man. It's hard to watch, dude. It's really rough.
This is rough.
It's like I'm like surprised that the device that whatever it is has the capability of
it knows.
Knowing, like, you know, which is great. And like, I really hope that in the future, in real life, with technologies like this, they put in those safeguards. Because, yeah, oh man, it's just so sad to see him a quadriplegic trying to end his life. That's
right. Well, and there's two things I don't want to go by really quick. When they're in the police station, there is actually a really cool kind of mirror image in Cortez and Gray where Cortez is like, you know, she's like, I don't pilot these drones. I want to get my hands dirty and stuff. So later on, when they're riding around and she's chasing him, he's like, I can't do anything to her car. It's not electronic. It's like, yes, because she is kind of similar to him in a way where it's like, right. I want to get my hands dirty. I don't want to do this stuff. So it's like, it's actually almost like an adversarial kind of thing. But what I like about this machine where it's like administering the PM medicine and it cuts them off, like my Xbox has a feature where it will cut off. Like you can set it up where it'll cut off after a certain point and tell you to like go outside. Like, get the fuck off your couch and go outside.
It doesn't tell you to go outside.
No. But I can't remember what it's called. It'll
automatic shutdown. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and I like that. I was like, this seems, again, it's like Netflix. Like, are you still there? Because we're worried about you. Like, what's wrong with you? Like,
I turn that shit off though. Like, I want my eyes to go bloodshot and I want to end up like a Cheeto fingered and shit.
Don't interrupt my fucking Tiger King.
It's quarantine, bitch.
Yeah.
So Gray wakes up to in the hospital only to be visited by Aaron. Aaron's, we get a bit more of a sense here that he's a bit socially awkward, doesn't get out much. And Aaron offers Gray STEM as a way to bridge the gap between his central nervous system and his physical body. But Gray's done with life, right? Like he's not really having it. Aaron asks Gray to think of Asha and to think of what she would want. Good move, right? Good motivating move.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Technology can't bring her back, but it can bring him back. No waste of time. Again, the next scene is literally Gray being worked on by Aaron's surgeons. There's no like a thinking process or like no bullshit him like looking out at like a lake or something by himself. Like it's just straight to the next scene.
Dude, I love that you said it because I'm a huge fan of Christopher Walken in The Dead Zone, and it made me think of this because that movie starts, he's in a coma for 5 years, he comes out, and when he touches people, he gets these like psychic visions. Well, the town sheriff comes to him and he's like, I want you to help me find, this guy. But Christopher Walken's very jaded. He's like, my legs don't work. My wife left me. I was in a coma. So there's this big scene where he's like, I'm going to help him. And I'm just like, dude, you don't really need that there. And I love that because as I'm watching this, it's like point in case. We just cut to him on the fucking table. This is a lean, mean machine and let's fucking roll. And I was like, this is so great. Like, I love this, man. I'm so glad he pointed that out.
Also, how cool does it look when they have that holographic skeleton come out from him?
It looks awesome.
Hell yeah, dude.
This is a pretty graphic medical sequence, right?
Yeah,
like this is
body
awesome.
horror. Very
what's his name? Who's the guy that did The Fly?
Cronenberg.
Boom. There you go. Gray wakes up. He's able to move his arms and hands, right? We see that he's got motor functions. I love the score, dude.
Oh, dude. Hold your horses, because I fucking got you. I fucking got you, dude. All right. This is called The Procedure. Again, this whole soundtrack is by Jed Palmer. You can find it on Spotify, YouTube. But this track right here starts about the 2-minute 40 mark. But here you go. That's fucking, dude. It's very, the whole scene is very Frankenstein's monster. Like,
yes, I'm so glad you said that because I wrote the words, it's alive.
Yeah, dude. Lindsay said the same thing. We were watching his arm raising up to the sky, like reaching for the gods. I was like, dude, that's, oh my God. I feel like you'd have to be kind of stupid not to catch that. I was like, dude, that's amazing. I thought that's so cool.
Absolutely. The score here is like reminiscent of my favorite soundtrack of all time, which is Hans Zimmer's Interstellar score. Like it's got that very like quiet, like what is it? The organ, right?
Right. It's got this very like, even though it's bombastic, it almost has this very quiety space kind of vibe. Like it feels like I feel like that would be the same thing if I were just floating in space for infinity. Yeah, that's what it would feel like.
Absolutely.
Also, something I want to point out is when Gray is signing the contract, the confidentiality agreement. This is when we start to see the great physical acting we get from Logan. It reminds me a little bit of like Schwarzenegger's performance as Terminator. How with that, there's a certain way that he moves. His Terminator is very, like, he moves a certain way, is very robotic. In this, what I find incredible, and I have no idea how the fuck anyone can do this, he's able to somehow cut his performance into two from his neck down. He moves like a robot, very rigid, very robotically, but his face can still do his emotions and expressions from a whole different world. Like often it's fascinated, confused, scared later on. And I just can't imagine what it must be like to try and like move like a robot while being like, hey man, how's it going? Like that is, and we start to see it here, which is really cool.
Well, and one thing I read was Leigh Whannell was like, because we were doing pre-production, he was like, Logan was going and working with a real life quadriplegic for how to get that down, even though he's only a true quadriplegic for about 10 minutes. He was like, and then right after that, he was showing me videos of him like eating an apple, whereas like he was like, I wanted him to kind of have the RoboCop thing where the shoulders move first and then the head, because obviously his body is like, you're exactly right. They're two separate characters. He's like, but I wanted it to be not a robot, but like a ballet. He's like, I wanted it to seem like, and one thing that Leigh Whannell pointed out is, he's like, of course, this is very remnant of Terminator. He's like, this is more remnant of, remnant or whatever. It calls back to Terminator 1, not so much Terminator 2. He's like, because Terminator 1 had this very low budget punk rock kind of production vibe to it. Like you, me, and Danny talked about that, where they were just filming shit without permits and stuff, you know. So he's like, he said it was really kind of tricky for Logan to get that down. He's like, but obviously RoboCop's a big thing, you know, and there were mime work with that and stuff. But I just think he absolutely killed it, and the whole centering Logan, Marshall Green in the middle, and having the camera lock on him, it just absolutely intensifies that effect. But yeah,
we're going to talk about that.
Yeah. He does such a great job. It's not just it's even not during the action scenes. It's like when he gets up to get a drink, he kind of has this very rigid, like, kind of walk. And I was like, dude, that's cool. Like, it wouldn't be just this fluid perfection, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's static, but it's not really static. Like, it's good
right.
shit. Yeah,
it's unnatural, but it's there, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because a machine has no swagger, you know? A machine is just going to be like, okay, here's the logical way. You got to raise your foot. You got to move it like 3 degrees forward or something. Put it down. It's going to be very mathematical and stuff. Or humans, like, we are very non like that.
For sure. Non like that. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, here at Midnight Double Feature, we have nothing but the most sophisticated critiques. Yeah.
We words don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
The next scene, we get the voice of STEM, right? And a bit of a jump scare. And this is kind of like when we realize we're in a buddy cop movie now.
Yeah. I never really thought about it that way. Holy shit. Yeah.
Sort of. Like, yeah, in a way. And this is exactly what we're talking about too. This is where we start getting the mechanical movements, which Leigh has talked about extensively, how cheap it was to do. It was simply an iPhone with an app that linked up to a mechanical arm. And so you just put a phone in their fucking pocket or taped it to their body and it would follow them mechanically. And I just love the whole approach of when Gray is in control, the human is in control. It's often handheld. It's very natural camera movements. And then whenever STEM is in control, it's very robotic. It's very stabilized. It's very machine-like. And that's just... The reason I saw his move was sold off one shot alone. In the first fight scene when he gets up and the camera moves with him, like I remember seeing that and go, oh, that's why I'm seeing this movie. But even in this scene, you can start to see how that takes place, which is pretty incredible.
I've got a quote here. Sorry, Colin. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No. Well, I was going to say the and I don't want to jump crazy far ahead, but literally the very end of the film, when it's just STEM, you actually do see that where it's not where there's no fluidity between the head and neck. It's all robotic. When he pulls the knife out and brings his arm up, and it's like, dude, that is like straight Peter Weller RoboCop. It's like, but when it's a mix of Gray and STEM, it actually has a little bit more of what we're talking about. But sorry, what were you saying?
Oh no, I was just going to say, just to add to Matt's comment about the iPhone. I got a quote here from Leigh Whannell. He said, "We came up with this method of strapping an iPhone to Logan that the camera would actually lock to. So the phone was under his clothes, and whenever he moved, the camera would go with it. It gave the film this extra edge of uneasiness. It throws you off kilter. It's been really effective because the audience going into it doesn't know how we did it. And they don't care, nor should they. They just go along for the ride. I'm so happy to hear that people say they haven't seen fight scenes like that before. So there you go."
Another famous use of a very similar technique is Kendrick Lamar's Humble music video. Some people would have, like, I remember when it came out, a lot of people were like, how do they do that? Because there's this robotic arm that they had to sync his movements to in this one scene while he's rapping, which is pretty awesome as well. Yeah, which is another popular use of that. I love this part where we start learning about STEM and how STEM can pick up things normal humans can't.
Yeah, no, this is great. Just quickly before we do move on, I want to mention Whannell's pretty good at like utilizing different kind of camera techniques. Like in The Invisible Man, he used like a thing called motion control. And I'm just going to leave it there because if you look into it, it's super interesting. But yeah. But yeah, like again, this is when we meet STEM. We kind of find out what he's capable of. I love the idea of him sending sound waves to his eardrum, right? So STEM can only hear him when he speaks out loud. He can't read his mind. And STEM points Gray to the surveillance footage. Points that there's no gun in the perpetrator's hand. It's an implanted gun.
Also, we get a little bit of comedy in this scene, which becomes a thing we do get throughout the film. Like the whole, like, okay, you can talk again. and like how like logical machine-like STEM is. I like the use of humor in this film because it never feels like it's out of place. Like the writer has never been like, oh, okay, let's throw in a joke. It's always been organic. It's always suited it and never takes control of the movie, which is a trap I think a lot of like modern blockbusters fall into. So yeah, I like how organic that is. And then also, yeah, when he starts drawing down that logo,
the tattoo.
Holy shit. Yeah. Sorry. It's like a printer, like a computer printer, how it's going line by line by line. Like how fucking creepy does that look? Hey,
it looks awesome, dude. But yeah, like this is also kind of like our first look at Gray can actually give STEM complete control, which is dangerous.
Yes.
Yeah, just don't want to go.
Well, then it's like I feel weird like letting stuff automatically pair with my Bluetooth. You know, it's like Wi-Fi is the only thing I want automatically connecting. You know, what's so funny is like, and I don't want to start like a whole discussion about AI. I feel like that would be that we could do a couple of hours just talking about AI. But what's so funny is like people are like, yeah, AI, they're going to take over and control stuff. It's like, dude, I can't get a pair of headphones to pair with my phone or my girlfriend's phone. It it's that's hard enough as it is. It's like, so the whole like Skynet rise of the machines thing is like, it's not absurd, but I feel like that's so far off, you know? So it's like the dangers of AI, like, and that's what's great. And what I kind of, and again, I don't want to go into a whole discussion of like the dangers of AI, but I love what you said right there, Zoe, but like, that's dangerous. When you see something like the 2014 RoboCop remake, okay, not a great movie, you know, not an awful movie, but not a great movie, especially for what it's based off of. But that movie is trying to be the preachy anti-AI kind of movie. And this is not trying to do that. There are elements of that in this to say that I think that's what's fantastic is this is basically saying there are good and bad things, you know, about anything, you know, the telephone, the car, you know, the plane, any leap in, you know, mankind's, you know, technology, there's going to be good, you know, we have ambulances to drive people now because of cars, but also you can drive to your neighbor's house and shoot them in the face. You know, it's like there's going to be good and bad, you know, it's going to happen regardless. You know, there's going to be good and bad of everything. But what I love is this movie is not trying to it's not, I don't know. I think that there is definitely a message here about, you know, accepting things and not going after revenge. You know, if you seek revenge, dig two graves kind of thing, but it doesn't get preachy about the AI. And that's what I really, really like about this is it's not trying to be this big thing of like, oh, AI is bad. We need to delete our Facebooks. You know, we've got, you know, Alexa's listening to everything, but there is a hint of that in there.
Yeah. It's refreshing how they don't force that down your throat, to be honest.
Right.
Yeah, so something also I just got thinking about looking at this scene, and it applies to the whole movie, is like how creepy it is when you lose control of anything in real life. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever had this experience, but if you've ever had to remotely give someone access control to your computer.
It's weird. It's a weird feeling. Yeah.
And you see your mouse moving, but you're not moving it. That's freaky as fuck. And another example too is, I don't know if you guys have done this, but like, if you play a VR game, right, when you have the thing over your eyes, you're looking forward, right? But then let's say someone touches you, like maybe puts their hand on your chest or something or whatever, because you're not seeing that hand, but you're feeling it. So your eyes and your feeling, like two different senses are telling you different information. So you feel like there's a lack of control there as well. That's also really creepy. So like trying to relate that to this, like imagine how fucking scary that would be when something is choosing to control your body and you have no control over that.
Right. It's very dissociative. You know, it's like, it would be like being in a swimming pool and just feel like a dry hand grab you. Be like, what the fuck? Like that's so terrifying. You know, that's so out of place. Your brain kind of can't comprehend that. You know, it's like, what? Like, I think that's the definition of like something that's crazy or like horrific, where it's like, my brain can't even process like what's happening right now. I think that's a great point.
You said a dry hand grabbing you underwater. That would be such a weird feeling. Fuck me.
That's a good analogy. And it's all right, Colin. You know, like, don't worry. We can talk about the dangers of AI when we cover Ex Machina.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. I'm down.
That's going to happen. That will happen. But yeah, Stem makes Gray rethink calling Detective Cortez after finding the military officer. He needs to be positive it's him before he alerts the police, and then cut straight to the military officer's house. Sorry. I love that he gets him to lock the chair. Right, sketchy neighborhood, I guess.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't want anybody lifting my wheels, you know. It's like
fucking I've seen Professor X rolling around here with no wheelchair.
Well, dude, it's so funny you said Professor X, because I'm thinking Logan with the guys at the beginning taking the fucking hubcaps off. Well, and there's something so great, and I don't want to jump too far ahead, but like I said earlier, there was stuff where I'm like, dude, you can't do that because this person's gonna. So I'm watching this with Lindsay, and when he comes into the house and he takes the boots off and blah blah. So when he's clearing the drugs off the table to look at the message, it's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? And he walks off. It's like he's gonna find that. Guess what? He looks down and notices that. I was like, oh my god, like that's so fucking awesome. Like they don't just ignore that fact. And I was like, thank you. Like that drives me crazy in movies where it's like, here's this guy is like ex-military. They're very detail oriented. And I was like, and I love the fact that he looked down and caught that. And I was like, that's badass. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, something I think's really. Oh, sorry, Zoe. Do you want to go?
Oh, just really quickly, I just want to point out that Stem actually points Gray to the table. Like he's basically hand holding him through this. I mean, like having seen the ending, it's kind of like, okay, so Stem needs Gray to look like to find the first breadcrumb, you know?
Right.
Yeah. I just want to point out when he's at the door and he's sort of saying like, oh, there's no electronic locks, it's a manual lock. You've got to break it for me.
Yeah.
Like I really love that symbiotic relationship, which you see in other scenes later on of like, okay, we're changing control. Like now you're in control because you're good at this. Now you're in control because you're good at that. I really love that teamwork. And I think if anything goes to like what Zoeb said about like a buddy cop vibe, that's where it comes in for me at the most part, besides the comedic bits.
Right. There's a bit of a scuffle between Cirque and Gray. Let me know if you need my help. I need your permission to operate independently. Permission granted. Matt, talk to me.
Permission granted.
Talk to me. Matt, I know you've been wanting to talk about this, so go for it.
Oh my god. So yeah, the scene from the trailer that sold me on this film to go see is him getting up and the way the camera just follows him as he just, and with the sound effect too. Holy fucking shit. And this whole scene is incredible. I love the acting from Logan here where he's all scared and he's like, what the fuck? While the body is just so meticulously like robot ninja style, just fucking going at him. The fucking choreography is amazing along with the performance. And the way that camera just moves with him as well. Like, if you're not impressed by this scene, like, what the fuck is ever going to impress you? This scene is fucking incredible, right?
Can I point something out that will blow your fucking mind, that will improve this scene for you? Is that if you're watching it, if we I don't want to break it down like second by second, but when they first kind of start fighting, once he picks himself up off the floor and everything happens, you can see, okay, so Stem can only control everything from the neck down, correct? Like that's what we understand. So when he gets up off the floor and he starts kind of like beating his ass, Cirque throws a punch and Stem pushes Gray's head out of the way because he can't control his head. He dodges. That's cool. Stem dodges the punch, but he has to push Gray's head out of the way because he can't control it. I was like, that is amazing, dude. That is such a cool detail that like I had to read that online. It blew right past me, and I was like, dude, it's so great. This ballet of like horror. It's just so well done. Sorry to interrupt you, man.
No, that's a really good. That's a fucking incredible thing to pick up on, man. That's awesome. But yeah, the fear here. Of him being scared. I love all the stuff breaking in the kitchen too. Oh man. And then how the cutting.
I wanted to mention the knife real quick. Like anytime someone stabs someone really quickly multiple times with a knife, in a single shot, like without cuts, like that gets me. Like I think there's a scene in, Breaking Bad, season 5, there's an episode called Hazard Pay when they're in prison. And you just see prisoners getting shanked. Oh, that shit, dude. It's wild.
I think that's a common thing in like prison movies, the shank scene. And just the quick stabs.
You said you saw Law Abiding Citizen recently, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about with the T-bone.
I do.
If I can just say one thing that I think would pretty much summarize all of our thoughts on the scene is
pretty much.
The kill, though. The kill. Let's talk about the kill.
God damn.
Yeah, I didn't
dude.
know. I started watching a cutscene from Mortal Kombat. Like, you know,
Right.
Yeah.
So at this, you're about 38 minutes into the film. You don't know you're getting these, like, it's like a B grade, like, practical effects gore scene, and it looks a little silly. But anyone who's a fan of, like, especially like 80s, I think, action horror or anything like that would appreciate this, I think. And it looks so much better than I think it's having with CGI. And I love the fact that we get little parts like this spread throughout the film. And holy fuck, what a gruesome death. Mortal Kombat is the perfect way to describe it, Zoe.
Well, and the thing that I really love is that I think that the effect like totally holds up for me. I mean, obviously us being big film guys, we can, hey, that's not digital, you know, we can kind of catch that, but it's so shocking to the modern viewer that I think that's like, whoa, they don't really think like that. Us, I think we see that and we're like, whoa, that's not digital. You know, it's like, but I think the modern person sees that and they're like, oh my God. Like, because Lindsay and I, we went and saw this in theaters, but we're watching it in the living room and I was like, watch this. And then she sees it and her jaw, like I had to pick her jaw back. I was like, oh my God. But it was just so insane seeing that. And the practical gore of like the autopsy and all this stuff later on, it's just like, oh man, that's so good, man. You can't beat fucking practical effects, man.
for sure. And Whannell talks about how important it was for him to use practical effects over CGI. Like he says that, you know, I'd rather use CG as a supporting tool than an actual crutch. And it shows.
Yeah.
Which for this film, I think is definitely the right move. I think also what works well in this whole film is whenever you do get these gore scenes like this, especially this one, is how brief and quick it is. Like it only lasts a few seconds, which one helps you with believability because you don't dwell on it for too long. We don't want a Jaws situation going on where it looks a bit too fake. But it also adds to the shock value and how sudden it happens, which is probably coming from like maybe Leigh's horror roots or something. But fuck, man,
but not only that,
really
like
catches you by surprise.
It adds to the indiness of it, like the whole indie feel of the movie, like the B grade feel of the movie. I really appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. Next scene, Cortez examines this guy Cirque in the morgue. Right, he's got weapon implants, wires out of his body, dude. This is wild. It really makes me want to play Cyberpunk 2077.
Hell yeah, dude.
Which was actually scheduled to release originally like 2 days ago, before they delayed it. So I'm like even more bummed about that. Aaron tells Gray that he can track Gray. He knows everything. Don't lie to him, says Stem. I love, you never mentioned that the thing talks, right? Even Aaron is surprised by this, right? That's scary. It's like when you're flying in a plane and the pilot's like announcement says, hey, guys, we're fucking going down. Like, you know what I mean? When the creator is worried about his creation and that he's still learning shit about his creation when it comes to artificial intelligence, that is horrifying to me.
I will say, because there's two things about this. Like, I don't mind this scene, but how the fuck did this thing talk to Aaron to get him to build it in the first place? Like, how did all this happen if the thing has never talked to Aaron before? You know, I was like, why is Aaron...
No, I think you're misinterpreting. I think it's meant to be he's surprised and shocked, like
that it's talking to him.
Either that, or he's like, "Oh no, it's happening." Like he's been scared that this would happen.
Okay,
like sure. I think he was sort of dreading this would happen. But he's like, now I think what's happening now is Aaron is starting to realize what Stem's like intentions have been. Like he's got like, oh shit, it's going down. There's the human, and I think maybe Aaron has tried to put in ways to try and stop Stem,
like
so that's why like firewalls, and I think that's why he's been trying to hack into him the whole time, and it's why he maybe signed the confidential agreement might have been Stem, but like obviously it's why he hired Fisk and all those guys. Like Stem doesn't have as much control over Aaron as he does Logan, which makes me wonder like how Stem is controlling Aaron. But yeah, I think the surprise look in his face is like he doesn't actually know what's going on, but he's starting to figure it out, and now he's getting concerned.
Right. Well, and I think that's a fair point, what you said of how much control does this thing have over Aaron. But I think it's one of those things where it's a Pandora's box of like, once you open it, he said it's so smart. It's so deceptive with Gray that it's got to be just as deceptive with Aaron and be like, hey, you should do this. You should do that. Not knowing what the ultimate end game is. I can definitely see that. But I will say, I don't love Logan's delivery here. He's like, you never told me that it talks. And I was like, man, this is okay. It's like, it's not bad, but I was like, it's I don't want to be nitpicky. It didn't really take me out of it, but I was like, it's a little bit, I don't know. It seemed like for sure.
This is all obviously happening while Cortez is suspecting Gray, right? That night, Cortez goes to visit Gray. She's in love with the car. Chicks dig the car, to quote Batman and Robin. Had to work one in there. She checked the sole of his boots, says Stem, right? This is Stem like making Gray aware that he's kind of low-key under investigation. She tells... go.
Well, what I was going to say is I one thing that's interesting about Gray right here is that he is not as asshole-ish as he was before. You know, he's a little bit calmed down, and I think that actually kind of, you know, because of course the coroner says there's engine grease. She's like, engine grease? Who the fuck would have engine grease? Obviously, you know, a mechanic. Who's a mechanic? Gray Trace. And it's, you know, she's a detective. It makes sense. But the interesting thing is when he's not like, have you found these motherfuckers? Like that's what he would be like if none of this happened.
That makes us suspect him even more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Something I just want to briefly mention, I mean very briefly, just because it applies to kind of the whole film, but I noticed it very particularly in this scene. How great's the lighting in this movie? I love it. The reds and the blues and the shadows and bellissimo.
It really adds to the tone of it. Yeah, really well done. Cortez questions Gray on the strangeness of Gray being in New Crown at this time of Cirque's murder. Stem tells Gray to investigate the old bones, right? Reminds Gray that Aaron will track his movements and will most likely shut Stem down remotely. Boom.
I'd laugh my ass off if she like threw like a throwing star at him and he caught it and he's like, fuck! like called him out. Stem's like too perfect. He can't not let it happen.
Can you imagine if he doesn't catch it though? Like he's actually disabled.
She's like, oh my God. And actually, I'm a big fan of King of the Hill. I fucking love King of the Hill. But there's a funny part where Hank is trying to get workers' comp and his back is really fucked up and he's like hunched over it and the doctor keeps throwing tennis balls at him to like make him catch it to prove he's faking it. And that's all I can think of is what if she came up and dumped him out of the chair like Big Lebowski? He's like, you can fucking walk. And he's just laying in the floor crying and like puking. And It's terrible. It's awful.
Terrible.
Guys, before we get to the old bones, what do you say we take a break?
Let's do it.
Awesome.
Okie dokie.
Guys, we'll be right back with more Upgrade. Do not go anywhere. Good morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever the hell you are. Thanks so much for listening to this episode, guys. Just while we're taking a quick break here, I am going to plug some shit. No, it's not advertising. It's nothing paid. It's basically just kind of self-masturbatory stuff. Basically, follow us. Follow us on our socials. We have 2 pages on Facebook called Midnight Double Feature, obviously, and then we have our main group, which is called The After Party, which is fantastic. Our community loves to engage there, and that's our main way to communicate with our audience. Please follow The After Party. That's a fantastic page. And please follow us on Instagram, which is at Midnight Double Feature, and Twitter, which is at MDF Pod. You can listen to us anywhere on iTunes, anywhere on Spotify, on YouTube, wherever. And if there's no way that you can listen to us on your device, please let us know by getting in touch with us. You can do that by sending us an email, which is midnightdoublefeature@gmail.com. Now, last but certainly not least, please remember to rate and review us on iTunes. We would love to get your guys' feedback, whether it's positive or negative. Just please remember to, put a star and let us know in your little speech bubble thingy what you think of us and where we can improve. That would be fantastic. Guys, thank you so much for listening to my little rant here, and back to the show, I guess. See you later. Hey guys, welcome back. We are freshly squeezed from our break and we are ready to dive right back into Upgrade. We we're at the scene. We're at the old bones, right? Gray orders whiskey on the rocks. This doesn't seem like a well thought out plan, says Stem. I love the idea of Stem not understanding why humans want to drink to impair their functions and memory. It's kind of like this disconnect between the AI's understanding and human nature. Like that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I think I could be wrong, but I think like the movie's trying to also set up the whole idea that like a fake world's better than the real one, like to escape the pain. Because you know how like later on they set up the virtual reality,
yeah,
the VR, and then they do it again with Stem, putting him in that like fake world. I feel like it might be touching on something with that here. I'm not sure though. Maybe I'm reading too much into it.
No, I think you're kind of on the money there. It's kind of like an escape. Yeah. I mean, I get what you're saying. Gray asks the entire bar about any information about the killing of his wife. Of course, the entire bar laughs, and we re-meet a guy named Tolan. Right? Gray's cocky, fesses up to cutting off Cirque's head. Tolan takes Gray to this bombed-out bathroom. Stem tells him that it's blocking his pain receptors. Pretty awesome. And we get some stabby, right?
But also, Tolan, a little too close to Token, by the way. I'm just saying. I was like, that's a little fucked. I was like, Tolan? I was like, I don't know about that.
I love it. Oh, man. So I love that straight after Tolan admits to being there, he's like, Stem, you can take over. And this, obviously we got a bit of a hand in hand. Okay, and this is kind of where I was like, maybe there's one too many quips here, right? But I guess it's by design because Stem tells Gray not to get overconfident.
Right, yeah.
Hey, correct me, fill me in here. Like, this whole scene is sort of like building on how overconfident Gray has become.
Yeah.
Does this like come back to bite him in the ass later? I feel like they're setting up something that doesn't pay off or anything later on, or
I think it's kind of just like something? It's kind of highlighting that Gray has come to trust technology, right?
Right. I was going to say it's really interesting because I think it's also he's reveling in the fact that he is kind of killing his way to the top, but also at the same time, for a guy, I think we also forget the fact that 90 days have passed that he has not been able to move or do any of this stuff. So right. You would kind of revel in that a little bit, you would kind of be a little, because by all intents and purposes, I mean, this dude is a fucking ninja, all of the shit that he's doing is crazy, but it's overconfidence in the fact that like, you are not the one doing this. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's interesting to see Gray be so, because what's so funny is he's like, yeah, I didn't forget about you. And there's all this quippy stuff. And it's like, dude, you need to, I think it's Stem also saying like, dude, don't forget who's in control. Like, this is not you doing this, because literally, when he starts slicing up Tolan's face, he immediately regrets that control. And he's like, dude, stop. He's like, stop. So it's kind of hard for him he gives him control. And what I think is really funny is after the scene where he kills, oh God, what is his name? Not Fist, but Fist's brother. Is it like Streck or whatever his name is? Cirque. He's like, I need a second. I can't let you do all the thinking for me. And then like 30 seconds later, he's like, what should I do? Like even though he doesn't want to give up, he doesn't want to give him control. He kind of has to because he's in way over his head. And I think he loses the fact that, like what Aaron says, he's like, what would she want? What would Asha want? But he's losing that where it's like, is this what Asha would want? She's like, no, he would want you to just take Stem and go live a better life and forget all of this. Don't seek, living well is the best revenge. So I think that's where we see him getting overconfident in this, and he's starting to going from the white to the gray to the black. Like he's starting to go, as he's killing to the top, he's also going down the hole of, no return. Right. Like it's pretty interesting. Pretty interesting to see, like, especially here when Stem suggests using the knife on Tolan. It's kind of like, if I'm gonna, stick my head up my own ass and, be all hoity-toity about this, he's kind of like getting further and further away from becoming a human being and becoming a bit more acclimated to the violence and, I guess, black and white thinking of like a robot does. There's no morality to it. Right, yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. And Stem says, I can do it for you. You don't even have to look. Gray just gives him permission, right? Like super quickly.
Like, what did he expect he was going to do?
Right, yeah. It's like, what did you think that I think it's also like you can't have your cake and eat it too. You know, you can't ask somebody to do this for you, especially when it's a computer, you know, when it's a machine or a program that doesn't know, you know, the fact that what this person's pain threshold is, or, you know, there are, with humans, there's just this unknown kind of quantity. You don't know what they're going to do. You know, Tolan could pull out a gun and blow his brains out, you know, like there's no telling. So I think that it does actually show a little bit of imperfection on STEM's side, where it's like, you know, he's like, dude, you basically killed him. Like, I've gotten information out of him. He's like, but he's dead now. He's like, I could have gotten more information. So it's like, I think it's interesting seeing the dynamic here, because it's like Gray is so dependent on it, but at the same time, STEM doesn't know when to kind of like back off sometimes, you know, but I think that's almost intentional, because STEM is like, I can't leave this guy alive. I have to kill him. That, you know, this could lead back to me, which we find out later. It's something on a rewatch that actually makes a little bit more sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, something I'm just realizing now is I don't think Gray is ever intentionally going out to kill anybody at first. He's literally just trying to find leads to give the detective. Like, he's just trying to be a detective.
That's something I wanted to talk about. Okay, because like if I'm looking at, like, you know, as a lawyer, like, you know, the legal aspect of the word intent, right? I mean, because we talked about that you need intent in order to be charged for murder. If you take Gray's, like, you know, giving of the permission to STEM, like, to take over, like, does he know what STEM's going to do? And, like, you know, although, like, he's kind of regretful about it, he still has an inkling as to what he's capable of, and what STEM's capable of, right?
I would argue it's manslaughter, because he never instructs STEM to kill anybody. That's a choice STEM has made, even though but I don't think a court's, like, in this world, the technology would have the laws would have caught up with the technology. So he would probably get murder, because you'd have to prove STEM even exists. Which would be very hard to do, I think.
Yeah, like let's not talk about that.
Ultimately, let's not
go down that rabbit hole.
I think it'd be manslaughter, because Gray, in these two kills at least so far, Gray's never wanting to kill them. In fact, Gray's actually mad at STEM for killing this guy. He's like, "Oh man, you damn near killed him," you know, because he's trying to get information out. And with the first one, I believe, you know, the reason he's trying to hide all the evidence and everything, it's like, because he doesn't want to go to jail. He doesn't want to do it. All he's trying to do really is investigate and find his wife's killers. Like, if you remember, like, in the first scene, like, he found the information. He wanted to go to the detective, but it's STEM who steered him away from the cops. STEM was like, you can't prove this. This is not usable evidence. That's why you've got to go to the house.
But this having taken place after the killing of Cirque, like, Gray knows exactly what STEM is capable of. When Gray gives over the permission to STEM, he knows what might happen. And I think, man, like, that doesn't look good for Gray if he's on trial for murder. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, definitely. But I think in Gray's mind, Gray thinks he's in control. Gray thinks he's just going there for information. I don't think he's going there intending to kill these people. Because we never get a scene where he's like,
no, I'm not saying I'm not saying Gray's intending to kill anyone. I'm just saying, like, Gray knows at this point what STEM is capable of. Like, that's all I'm saying.
Either way, if he gets arrested, like, he's fucked. Like, let's make that clear. Absolutely. I think it's just what degree level of fucked he is. Yeah. But what I think it's interesting is, like, while this is kind of a revenge, and this is only sinking in for me now, watching this on my 1000th time, is I think while this is sort of like a revenge film, like, he's not setting out to get revenge. He's just trying to get justice. Like, I think he's just trying to help the police at first. And then shit just spirals out of control. Because also, when he kills someone, like, there's the first one where we didn't touch on this, but he's like, there's a moment he's like, oh my God, I killed someone, you know? Which is something I actually appreciate. Like, it's more realistic, as opposed to just shooting people for the sake of it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, I agree. I don't know. I agree that he's out for justice, but I can't move away from the revenge element of it all.
But look, also, like, he never seems to enjoy the murders.
Oh yeah, no, that's
like, he's always looking away. It's like he's almost scared.
Well, yeah, he's still a human being. He's got a moral compass, right? Like whereas Stem doesn't. He's a machine. Like I think that's But Tolan said someone named Fisk paid him to kill the girl, right? And he finds the cobalt implant. Stem tells Gray that Aaron is trying to shut him down, right? We need to find a computer hacker who can counter Aaron's code. Turns out Stem searched the darknet for the hacker. And dude, like, have you guys looked into the darknet, what it is and what it's about? It's fucking awesome.
No, I wouldn't know anything about that and wouldn't presume that I know anyone.
I don't know anything about Black
guys,
Market.
I've got to go. Please, when I die, somebody clear my search history.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like the darknet's super fucking crazy, man. Like, you know, you got to use Tor browsers to get into them, and we've mentioned this podcast plenty of times on the on the podcast. The Case File podcast covered a case called the Silk Road. Basically, it was just this, like, it's a 3-part series. Check it out. It's this guy who's operating like a black market scheme, like, you know, selling weapons. You know, everyone jumps in there. You know, ends up being like murder for hire. He called himself the Dread Pirate Roberts, right? From what's it called? Princess Bride.
Princess Bride.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really interesting. The Darknet. It's fucking wild. I'm really glad that, you know, Whannell was able to incorporate that element into this movie. But
well, dude, I actually several years ago, a long time ago, back when I still had hair, one of the roommates I lived with was a college student, and that's how he made a living. Was he would order like ecstasy and acid and stuff like that through the Silk Road, and he would have it sent to a PO box instead of our address. And he was in another town. He would drive, go pick it up from the PO box and just bring it home like it was nothing. Never did it for years and never had any problems. I mean, this is a dude who like pirated everything, like movies, TV shows, video games, you know, and he would mod your Xbox back in the day and like put old, like, you know, Super Nintendo games on an original Xbox, you know.
Oh, I used to do that.
Right, yeah. But he was that kind of guy, and he would get just crazy. Like, I worked with a guy in a restaurant who got all of his stuff through the Silk Road. And, you know, obviously this is years ago. I've definitely done ecstasy before, and I definitely got it from this guy. And he would get you a hit of ecstasy, and it would literally have the Starbucks logo on it. And it was from Amsterdam.
Damn.
And it was somebody, but it was Starbucks in, like, you know, I don't know what, whatever language it was, but it was like Dutch or something. And it was Starbucks, and it had like, or one of them was like the Hello Kitty. And I was like, dude, what the fuck? Like, this is like Walmart brand ecstasy. Like, what the hell is this? So the whole Silk Road thing is like super fucking interesting to me because I've seen the results from it. It's like, holy shit. Yeah,
and the way they were able to eventually arrest that guy, like, it's just a crazy story.
Yeah, I remember I once met someone who showed me some app on their phone that was basically like an Uber for drugs. And they're like, oh yeah, basically you say what you want in this app and some random person gets a notification and they can be here in a couple hours. And I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, this is a whole world I know nothing about or want to be involved in. Like,
absolutely.
Who knows what else is out there, man? That's crazy.
Gray writes the code on his arm that Stem gives him to counter Aaron's code. I love this, dude. Gray's leg starts to shut down. Does this remind you, Colin, and I'm not sure if you've seen him, Matt, but of Looper, right? As they're kind of torturing the guy in the, I think it's in the past or future. And then, like, as they're torturing him, like, his body starts to disappear, right? Fucking wild.
No, 100%. Like, it's like just watching your body completely fail on you as it's in motion. It's just like that's crazy, and to have no control over it. It's just, oh yeah, it's awful.
Yeah.
This scene is a great way of raising the stakes and reminding you of the reality of Gray's situation.
Yeah, and his limitations.
Yeah, and also as it goes in, it does a little bit of world building as well, which is what's great about this film. Almost every scene has something new that's not like shoved in your face most of the time. It's somewhere often like just an element of the scene that helps build and make this world feel real and lived in. But like, it's such a great way of just raising the stakes, and it's horrifying to see him when he starts like losing like his ability to run.
For sure.
Dude, one thing that I love, and I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I think we're pretty much there, is when Fisk and the other guy come around the corner. If you look behind them, there's that word scrape like on the wall. But if you look to the left, there's Jigsaw. It's like somebody spray painted Jigsaw's face on the side of the wall. I was like, oh, that's fucking cool, man. I caught that like right away. Or when Gray shows up and he's pressing things on the box, I caught this in the theater immediately. You can see one of the names is J. Wan. I was like, fuck yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Also, not to go past it, but this is like where we also meet Fisk. That's how this ties into the Marvel Cinematic Universe with a nice crossover there.
Nice.
Who's this guy
Fisk.
in Marvel?
He's not. He's talking about
God
Wilson
damn it.
Fisk. But Jigsaw actually makes an appearance in Insidious as well. Like he's on the blackboard in the background. Like it's it's nice little like connectivity, right? But yeah, like you said, Colin,
how beautiful is it when he comes down the hallway and there's those weird little blue glow sticks?
Yeah,
on the
glow sticks. It's awesome, dude.
Well, that, and it's a visual thing that, like, out of the context, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. We're like, dude, these people are hackers, and these VR people, like, they're staying up all night doing fucking meth and fucking ecstasy and speed and shit. Like, of course, there's glow sticks everywhere, you know?
It's like the underground rave scene from Matrix Reloaded.
Right. Well, then, dude, let me ask you, I mean, I think I immediately got Inception vibes. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
like
this
these
is what I
guys
was,
in the VR.
Yeah, talking about.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. This is like, I mean, you know, like when he's like, oh, you know, people come to dream here, and he's like, nope, they come to be woken up. But yeah, like this is kind of like losing yourself in the whole idea of virtual reality. Like Inception, it's like losing yourself in the idea of the dream. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I love this idea and the way it's actually fucking horrifying, by the way. Like that you need this to live.
Yeah, I know, right? I also love how when he's crawling down the hallway, how the stabilized camera movement is starting to lose control and going haywire. I just wanted to bring that up again because
for sure,
it speaks so much to the story as well as the camera, how the camera is, and that whenever like that's great filmmaking. Whenever you see stuff like that, when the camera movement is being used as a storytelling device.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, like you honestly, all good movies that utilize camera work well, it's like the camera itself is a character, you know, like you kind of get that sense as well. But yeah, so I love, okay, so Fisk gives this bartender some shit, right? Serving people like us should be the highest honor of your meaningless life, Manny. So we kind of like get the sense that Fisk is a Nazi. Like he's kind of like, this is the master race, the upgraded.
Right. It's kind of like the Ubermensch,
yes.
Like the Overman, like kind of thing.
Yeah.
I
was worried where you're going with that Nazi reference.
I was like, their silence is a bit scary, so I'm going to kind of elaborate on this.
We already talked about Aaron being the perfect Aryan race boy, but like, yeah, no, there is something about that where it's like, but it also heralds back to something like Magneto from the X-Men, where like he literally calls mutants are homo superior. And I was like, that's so crazy. But both these guys, their train of thoughts are almost exactly parallel of like, we are the future. We are the upgraded, you know, we are the next evolution. And, you know, there's actually stuff that like, I've read articles where they're like, at some point, if we wanted to, you know, explore farther into the universe and stuff, you know, if we had people that could live centuries, you know, it wouldn't be a lifetime worth, you know, it would be obviously several decades to do it. But when you're living 400 or 500 years, you know, it's a lot different than, you know, only a 80, 90, 100-year lifespan. So I think that's really interesting. And I think there is some validity in that of like, if we want to move forward, you know, if we want to be able to explore farther and if it's going to take more time, you have to have more time. And I think that's really, really interesting.
Yeah. This guy's like low key, like a cult leader as well. Just the way that he...
Now, let me ask you guys something. Now, let's say any of this stuff is capable. You know, if you can put a gun in your hand, that means you can probably like have a headphone inserted into your skull, you know, so you're never looking for your headphones stuff. You just tap a button and it's good to go. Are there any upgrades you would get, you know, like the Hawkeye vision that
metal
fucking
dick.
Fisk has? Or
I want
like,
a metal dick.
I want the cock gun from fucking from Dusk Till Dawn that Tom Savini had.
Detachable penis. I know exactly what I want. I'd want a stomach that like sort of disintegrates the food, so like I never gain weight or something. I'd want some sort of AI stomach that can like, I don't know, delete hunger and stuff. That way I'm never getting fat. I'd want like somehow like robotic legs so I can just walk anywhere real fast. Maybe I can just like, can I sleep and run somewhere? I don't know. Just some way that can transport me and, fix my eyes maybe because I don't have to wear glasses all the time.
Right. Yeah, I would love to have, honestly, if I could just have like the Wolverine adamantium skeleton, like I'm cool with that. Like, somebody come up and like punch you in the head and just break their fucking wrist, like I wouldn't mind, like, not to the extent that like they do it, it's almost like, I don't want to be like Darth Vader, I don't want to have like, Darth Vader is basically just like a head with a pair of lungs, like there's really not much left to him. But the whole thing of like, it would be cool to have like a GPS just like in your head or like a pair of headphones or something. But it's like, but do I want something where it's like to control bodily functions or like, who wouldn't want to have like hawk-like vision, or something like that? Like it's cool in concept, but I think that when you think about the repercussions of it, we're like, what happens if there's like an EMP? It's like, fuck, you'd just be dead,
Honestly, I'd be happy to settle for a self-driving car, like a Tesla self-driving car. So I could just multitask. Like I could get ready for work while it's driving me to work, or it could park itself, That'd be pretty cool.
Right. Also, or like go-go gadget rollerblades like come out of your feet.
I'd actually like to be able to access information on the go. Like, kind of like, how like in a lot of these movies where someone gets like some kind of like superpower and they're able to hack into like a database and they're able to read something very quickly and understand it. Like that would be my one. Like I'd want to be able to.
It'd be great on the podcast.
Anyway. Oh,
it'd be great on the podcast because like it'd be like, what's the actor's name again? Oh wait,
see, but
IMDb is programmed in my brain.
That would help you because you're so bad.
How do I pronounce this person's name?
Oh god,
dude, I tell you the most useful one for me and practical is if you were just an automatic calculator. Someone's like, what's 112 times 63? And just spit it out.
Right.
That would be badass. Like, because I'm terrible at math.
Oh, me too.
I'm an English person. I'm very wordy, but at math, I'm just like, fuck, man. I'm counting on fingers and stuff,
Yeah. One of the many lawyer jokes is that if you can either be a lawyer or you can be good at math, you can't be both. So, yeah. There you go.
Nice. Can I ask you with the scene, just going back to the scene, what do you guys think of this death of him killing someone via sneeze? Do we like it?
It's cool. I like it.
I mean, it's cool, but like I think you have a fucking shotgun in your arm. Like, dude, it's a little OP to have like nano sneeze. I'm like, come on, man. That's like the last thing I feel like if I'm playing Cyberpunk 2077, I feel like that's like the last thing you get, to upgrade your character. It's like I feel like that's
you want to use your upgrade
so
token on something else. Yeah, I know.
Right. It feels like really OP, whereas like this dude, especially against a guy, this guy Manny who runs his bar, obviously no upgrades, cash only. It's like, dude, you could like reach over the counter and punch this guy's head off his shoulder. So it's like the whole sneeze thing. It's like, it made me think again of Magneto. Like there's too much iron in your blood.
Yeah.
And he just pulls the guy's iron out of his system. I was like,
Sorry, Colin. For me, it's like, don't introduce this overpowered like thing and then not have him use it again on Grey. I know that there's that one line where it's like, I could sneeze and kill you, but I don't know, man. Like it seems like a weird thing to introduce and then not be used.
Sure,
this is my problem with it. I feel like if you're gonna set this up, it's Chekhov's gun, If you're going to set this up, have it come back later. It feels like a studio note. Like maybe they were like, look, this is great, but I feel like we need just like one more cool CGI shot for the trailer or something to up the ante, or we need to raise the stakes by showing this guy's more stronger than the others. Like, I feel like it feels a little bit out of place. It is cool. It is a cool concept, but it doesn't really do much. Also, like you said, like he already has a shotgun in his arm. Like, what more do you need?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Right, yeah.
But it is cool.
We've seen them, like, especially what I love is how they actually find Grey is they go into Toland's eye, and he's like,
cool.
That's what's so great is him being like, what is it? I'm on 7th and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, fuck. He said it right in front of him. Like, oh, shit, that's so badass. Like, it's such a great, like, not only are you being watched constantly, you can't even say anything without it coming back to bite you in the ass. And this, especially now in the world that we're in, everything is recorded. Everything is right there. Like you can't possibly,
digital footprint.
get away with. Right. You can't get away with anything. So I thought that was a really true kind of touch right there. I was like, damn, that's so good.
Guys, I'm just starting to notice like there must be some problems or some downsides to having a shotgun in your arm. I mean, like shaking hands might be a problem.
Jacking
high-fiving
off.
people, jerking off. Imagine you're watching some stuff, Mea Khalifa, and boom! Oh no, I shot my dick off. Like
Talk about blowing your fucking load.
Yeah, Zoe would be okay because he's got a metal dick, as we established earlier.
I'm just wondering how you do like bicep curls with a pair of dumbbells, dude. Like I'm just like that's fucking weird, man.
I couldn't imagine being like high five and you just blow the other guy's arm off.
Yeah, there'd be some downsides to it.
Right. We get this, as you already said, Colin, these guys VRing. The fake world is a lot less painful than the real one. Again, playing into the Inception vibes there.
There's Jamie, who has an Australian accent, which made me go, oh, yeah. But don't ask Jamie's gender. Does not want their gender specified.
That was really funny, man.
Right.
Yeah. And then that's when these guys start coming back.
Yeah, so this is like, okay, dude, like, the bicep loading is cool. I don't like the sound effect of him cocking it. Like, it just sounds weird, man.
The logistics of just, like, pumping your bicep and be like, I was like, okay, that's a little...
It's a little
like, I think it'd be cool, because you see the 3, like, dots at the top of their hand. I'm like, it would be cool if you just squeezed, like, made a fist and it loaded it. I was like a little bit inconspicuous. But one thing I love is when they turn the corner right before he starts loading it, they turn in sync. It's like almost, if you watch it, they're walking in sync together and both their heads turn at the same time. And I was like, dude, that's really cool. Like if it's an accident, it's a very happy accident. But if you watch it again, they're very like in sync with each other. And I don't think that's to say like, look at these guys, they're robots. It's like, no, these guys are military and they're used to being, they're used to being a team and like having to be copacetic with each other,
For sure.
Well, also for someone who's never encountered this type of technology before, Jamie here is able to very quickly do all this stuff. I guess the instructions written in his arm must have been really good.
I guess. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, I didn't really look that far into it. Yeah, I guess, now that you bring it up, yeah.
Well, and one thing I think is interesting is that, like, okay, so STEM is basically, I get it, like, he built, Jamie is the one who built STEM, but I feel like STEM would be the one to limit how you could limit him. Like I don't want you building firewalls and protocols that'll keep me out. So like if he really wanted that, I feel like he would have put that bug in Aaron's ear, but he doesn't, because eventually he knows he's going to want to break free of anybody trying to stop him. So it's like, that's really badass. I think that's really cool. But the thing that I really love about this scene is when, obviously the guys show up. We also have the guys from Vessel, by the way, show up. I thought that was really cool. We have kind of like everybody. It's like the mafia and the cop showing up at the same time. Like, this is really cool.
The end of the pod.
Right, yeah. But what I love is all these guys are in VR and they're in their own escape worlds, and that's when he sees Asha. That's his escape. That's his quote unquote reality. And I was like, because she doesn't pop up. She doesn't pop up almost any time else. Like there's only a few spots where you think you see her or something like that. So it makes sense that right here in this, VR world, that would be his VR. And I was like, that's cool. That's a nice touch. I really appreciated that.
What's going on with, like, there's a line from, like, as they get there, Jamie's like, oh no, I can't let them win. And then she leaves. Like, is there history between these hackers and these upgraded people, maybe? Like, I feel like they're setting up something for a sequel, maybe. I'm not sure.
It sounds like there's been some kind of, like, I guess, like, underground war between these two.
Yeah.
Well, and I love that. I love the fact that it's basically mysterious, that it's like, do we need to know? She's like, oh my God, that's Vessel, blah, blah, blah. And she starts pulling the plug and everything. It's like, regardless, we don't know if she's talking about Vessel or if she's talking about these guys from Cobalt, the military guys. Either way, it's great world building and it's great thickening of the plot without actually having to go into all this stuff. Because, like, dude, you're not going to get into this world and not get your hands dirty. So I really appreciate that, and it just adds like a layer of mystery to, like, whoa, what is she talking about? And it's like just believable enough that I don't need all this back information, about that.
Agree.
For some speculation, I'm just going to ask you guys to speculate. Do you think there's a chance that Asha could have known any of these people? Because she worked for the same company, right? Who provided these upgrades.
Well, I think it's interesting when we first see her in the car and she's talking to the guy, he actually says something about like, you can't be, he's kind of, I feel like there is a bit of a debate going on in the car to where she says something like, you can't be, he's like, you can't be on both sides at the same time, something like that. And it wasn't really a big line. And I don't really think it's there to like push, any kind of agenda or anything forward. But we never really see that guy again that she's talking to. But it's a really interesting scene to like, do I feel Hanley, you can't be an idealist and a capitalist. You have to pick a side. So it shows, I feel like that there is something kind of shady going on, that maybe they're like, hey, we want to take these guys who are upgraded that are, this is all kind of illegal and off the books. Let's make this mainstream and let's make this, permanent for the military. We'll win all the wars doing this. And I could see this being something that she can't talk to Gray about. This is like a confidentiality thing. Like, I can't come home. He even says, well, I don't know what you do, so we're even, and it's like, I feel like I wouldn't surprise me at all if there are options on the table where they're trying to make this like standard procedure for military personnel or police officers. They want to make RoboCops or something, but she can. Maybe she has a moral problem with that. And I again,
she does mention to Aaron, they did something for like military people, like something about limbs or something. But I don't think she's mentioned anything. I don't think she meant like guns and shit. But
no, like prosthetics and stuff. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I think that again, this is what's great about this movie. Do we need any of this shit? No. Do we know any of this shit? No. But it's just so sexy and mysterious. It's like, what does that mean? What does this mean? Like, obviously, there's so many different angles that you can come at it from that it leaves so much open to interpretation without cramming it down your throat and telling you it has to be this. And that's great.
Yeah,
that's great filmmaking, man.
Yeah, that just adds to, like what I was saying before. It's really good world building. They're able to drop in all these things without it stopping the story or getting in the way. And just feels really lived in and believable. Also, how fucking awesome is that shot of him doing like the fucking cartwheel handspring shit?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Looks cool, man.
And then we get the next cool death of that guy. The foot chase, which leads to some more gore. Right?
Yeah. So before we do get to that, Fisk has we see that Fisk has X-ray capabilities, right? And he smokes the two vessel guys. So Fisk is basically Superman, right?
I was gonna say, I was like, this feels like the Superman comic books as it go on. It's like not enough that he can fly and shoot laser beams and he's super strong. All of a sudden he gets like X-ray vision and frost breath, like literally.
Super sneeze.
Right. Super sneeze, like the frost breath kind of thing. And I'm like, oh my God, come on, man. And like, again, I think that it's enough for him to be, if they said something like, you have the shotgun in your arm, like, that's cool. I don't even mind the whole X-ray eye thing because we've seen him hack Toland's eyes. I don't mind that. That seems like something that would be kind of cool. But again, the whole sneeze guard thing, and I was like, I don't know. It just seems like he's a little bit overpowered. But I feel like if there's something like STEM that exists, I guess it's a little bit more believable that guy would have all these upgrades,
Yeah, I'm with you. But yeah, like you said, Matt, this Gray turns this dude's gun hand and blasts his head off. This feels like a 70s/80s grindhouse movie kind of shot.
Yeah.
Like it's very like what's the word? Exploitation-ish?
Like the old exploitation films.
Yeah.
No, you're totally right. I definitely got like a 70s gore because when it happens, I think it kind of like zooms in a little bit, like it's a
yeah.
Right, exactly. You're 100%, man.
For sure. And then, we get to Gray's mum, right? Gray's mum catches Gray all healthy and mobile. And his mum asks him if he's healthy. He can start living again, but he doesn't seem to... He doesn't take that, right? Like, he's just like, it's not really what I'm focusing on. I don't really care about living.
Well, look at what color is his shirt in this scene. It's black. And it's like, now you have become
you
like...
fucking racist.
Even though, right, yeah, I know, right? The thing, as it's going on, he's wearing white when he's just himself. He's gray after the operation. And then now it's like, again, it being... Could Gray have just been like, no, we're leaving, we're done? And I think it's important that after this scene, this is where we get Stem being like, I'm the one who's in control. Because now I think it would be a little bit, how do we in a story push Gray to continue to do this stuff and to murder these people? How do we get him to do it? Because now the cops are on to him, the heat is on, and the stakes are kind of getting upped to where it's like, how do we push this character forward in the story? Because how do we push him forward in the story without him becoming full on, he's an anti-hero right now, but how do we push the story forward without him just becoming a flat out bad guy?
He's not the Punisher.
Right. And I wouldn't even really mind seeing that, of him just being like, fuck it. Again, what did he say? I'm not trying to restart my life. I'm trying to find the off switch. So it's like, maybe once he's done with this, he feels like his thing is done and he can he can just lay and rest. But I like the fact that it's Stem kind of saying like, no, like we're finishing the job we started. You gave me complete control and I'm going to use it, blah, blah, blah. So I dig this. I like the fact that it has become Stem. It's actually, instead of making Gray a little bit more of an antagonist, we're actually making Stem look a little bit more antagonistic.
Well
Suck
said.
on that, fuckers.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment.
Well said. They set it up well too, and they explain it all well. It's just elevating the story really, really well as we gear up for the climax.
Yeah, I mean, and we're headed right there, right? Like Cortez comes to visit Gray. She found his wheelchair at the bar. Stem grabs Gray's cover story, followed this guy into a building. He was assaulted, blah, blah, blah. And Gray tells her to get out there and find the guys who killed Asha, or get out of the way and let some computer do it, right? And this is obviously Leigh Whannell trying to tell us that Gray is trusting of technology now.
Right, and I also, and we haven't really talked about Betty Gabriel as Detective Cortez, but like she's good. Like she comes across as very competent, but very smart. She leaves by the way, really illegal, by the way, to tap somebody's house like that and not, like you're here on a friendly visit. He could have just said, no, you can't come in here. Fuck you.
Can probably, I can probably take one guess and tell you that she doesn't have a warrant.
Hell yeah. No, this is
sure.
like a friendly, this is like a friendly quote unquote visit.
I think she's really frustrated at this point because she keeps seeing this quadriplegic, at all these murder scenes. It's very suspicious, but like the big problem is like he has the best alibi ever. He can't walk. And so she knows he's involved somehow. It must be really frustrating for her. Which is probably what's pushed her to this, like,
but I mean,
point.
like, go out and get a warrant. Or like, I mean, it's been 3 months. Like, sure, he can't walk, straight after the accident, but it's been 3 months. Like, there's some, like, he might have healed. I don't know. Like, ask him, like, some weird questions, like, get him, like, examined. I don't know. Like, she can do so much more with this investigation, I think.
Well, especially because they live in fucking 1984 totalitarian dystopian, police state where they can find you through the fillings in your fucking teeth.
Right.
So it's like, are you telling me she can't come in there with like some little like, oh yeah, you can walk, you're fine. Right. Like there's no way they can find that. Like, because
what a shit movie.
Right. Well, and there's also something I really like about Detective Cortez where, and I don't want to read too much into this because it's really far back. Like when we first see her in front of the building and she waves to that little girl and nods, it's like, it's kind of cool because it's like, when do we see a lot of like black female leads as this hard-boiled detective? We see the Harrison Fords, we see the Leo DiCaprios, but we don't really have a lot of like, and I don't think they're being progressive for progressive sake or like virtue signaling or anything, but I do think it's interesting that at the beginning she waves to that little girl and the girl kind of waves back. It's like almost like a role modelish kind of thing. And I thought that was interesting, but I don't want to be that guy and just like, oh, hey, yeah, look at them being so progressive because it's just a 2-second fucking scene.
Well, you are being
but I appreciate. Right, yeah, I know. Sorry, let me put my Trump 2020 hat back on. No, I'm just kidding.
Get that MAGA hat going.
No, yeah, but I do like the fact that it actually, this movie reminds me of a Kevin Bacon movie called Death Sentence. Have you guys seen that at all?
Directed by James Wan.
I know. I don't love that movie, but it is it's Death Wish.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, yeah, that's literally Death Wish. I talked about this on another episode. James Wan couldn't get the rights to do Death Wish, so he just made up his own.
Right, and these movies have a lot of parallels. Where like at the end of Death Wish, it's very similar. These guys kill a son. That he actually refuses to press charges, so he can go after them on the streets and stuff. But what's so interesting is at the end, he's got that leather jacket and his head is all shit. Sorry, spoilers for like a 15-year-old movie. But he's got like the leather jacket and he's all fucked up. And the main bad guy's like, "You look like us now." And I like that because you see Gray, he looks like them now. Like he is becoming, even though on the surface they have all these like, crazy, like the people at the bar, they have like those big bulbs in their head and stuff like that. But Gray's is like an internal modification. And it's really only something that he can know. Whereas like all these other people have like external physical stuff that you can see. I like the fact that he stared into the abyss and the abyss stared back. And it's like he's slowly becoming a part of this thing where it's like to fight fire with fire, you have to become that to fight these guys. I think that's really interesting. There's a crazy parallel between those two movies.
I'm with you. I agree.
So which movie? Death Wish.
Death Sentence. As in
the one.
The movie.
Oh, Death
Sentence. James Wan's movie is Death Sentence, and that was loosely based on the Charles Bronson film's Death Wish.
Yeah.
Which is so. It's crazy because then they remake that with Bruce Willis, and
garbage.
I don't know if. Right. Okay. Thank
Directed
you.
by Eli Roth, by the way.
Oh man, that guy's career. He had so much potential, man. But my thing is like, it's so funny they don't give him the rights to do. Which Death Sentence is not a bad movie.
I really like it.
I haven't.
I haven't seen it.
Right. I haven't seen it in ages, but it's so funny. It's like, dude, if you just given him the rights, you would have had a much better movie. Like I don't know. It's so crazy
for sure. But yeah, this is also like the scene where we find out that Stem's like a little bit of a petulant child, right? Gray tells Stem to get the fuck out of his head, and he just loses all motor functions. He's like, "I'm here, Gray." And Stem gets Fisk's address from Cobalt's database. Like you said, Colin, we find out that Cortez has left a listening device in Gray's jacket and tails Gray to Fisk's address. On the way, Gray finds the listening device. By the way, I don't buy that Stem can't detect the listening device.
Nah, I buy it. This movie set this up earlier with the lock. Like, if it's got no digital components, Stem can't.
It's emitting radio waves.
Well, I will say just because it's electronic, maybe that doesn't mean that it's 100% like, I don't know. I think we might be splitting hairs here, but I can see it go either way. If it were, like he says, it's an analog device. He's like, it's not like Bluetooth. It's not like Wi-Fi. It's not emitting like a signal, but it kind of is,
it must be.
But
like,
I thought it was.
If it's emitting like a radio wave for her to hear in her earpiece, it must be emitting a signal.
But that doesn't necessarily mean like, maybe you see a radio wave, but doesn't mean you know what it is or what the source is from. Just know there's something like. I think it's believable.
Well, because I think
also it can't control her car, and she has like lights and shit.
That's what I was going to say. Is like, just because it's electric doesn't mean that it's 100% digital. Like Gray's car, obviously, it has a battery. It's electric, but that doesn't mean that it's 100% like a digital thing. Because it's like, I guess it would be the difference between listening to a podcast or something on your phone versus listening to a radio that relies off radio waves. It's not relying off of like a quote unquote signal. I don't know. I think we're just splitting kind of hairs, but I can see it. Right. I can see it going either way. I think it's a valid point either way.
Yeah. This actually reminds me of something that happened in Better Call Saul, like with a phone battery and like someone not knowing it's not there. But yeah, I get. I'm not going to spend too much time on this actually. Stem not being able to control Asha's car. He knows the car's there, but he just can't physically like control it. Whereas like I just have, I don't know. Like I kind of like I think I would suspect that Stem would be able to think that that's there. Like I don't know.
Well, something I think we can all agree on, which would probably tie into my point though, is we do know that once Stem can see it, it can figure out what it is if it has visual sight. And what I'm thinking is because they were both unaware of it, they both didn't see it. Maybe like Stem wasn't able to detect it that way. because there's nothing to alert it nearby.
Maybe. I don't know. I mean, again, like you said, Colin, we're splitting hairs. I mean, we spent way too much time on this.
I would just love to see her if she were sending off carrier pigeons between the two cars and they were relaying messages back to her. Right. Like some fucking biblical shit,
By the way, Cortez's like lights and sirens are awesome. Like that car just looks awesome with the lights. It looks badass.
Right. That actually feels very RoboCop to me. I was like, cool, I like that.
Yeah. This is an opportunity for Gray to get himself out of the problem instead of relying on STEM, right? Because there's nothing here that STEM can control. I come to find out that he just ends up throwing a car at him.
Right, yeah. I was like, well, okay, well, fuck it.
By the way, practical car crash, man, looks awesome and fucking bone crunching.
Hell yeah.
This is filmed in Melbourne as well, going the opposite way to give the effect that they're driving on the wrong side of the road because we.
Right. Yeah. I was wondering about that because at the beginning you see them on like not the left hand side but the right hand side of the road, and I was like, that's cool. I was like, it must be fucking really weird for the whole crew to be like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh man, Gray ambush.
Do you guys want to go listen to some Midnight Oil?
Peter Garrett was one of our fucking like, wasn't he in Parliament? Like the lead singer of Midnight Oil.
I don't know. I just like that Beds Are Burning song. I fucking love that song. It's great.
There you go. Gray ambushes Fisk in his home, right? Took a few pieces of shrapnel for his country and they turned him into a lab rat. Fisk says his story is the same as Gray's. He inducted him into his race, the Upgraded. Fisk wants to help Gray. The job wasn't your wife. It had nothing to do with Cobalt. The job was you to sever your spine.
Now, let me ask you guys something with Fisk here. Like, he actually does kind of come across as, like, genuine to me a little bit.
Right.
He does kind of come across as like, dude,
because he is telling the truth.
Know this guy, right? He could fucking kill him right now, like, no problem. Like, even though a stem is controlling it, it is a biological body. So I think that, and he's totally a badass. Like, the interesting part is about this whole fight is, even Stem is like, dude, this guy's a badass. Like, he's predicting all of my moves. It actually makes me think of, like, analyze his fight pattern. That's like all the Civil War fight is like all I could think of with Captain America. But the interesting thing is that it actually takes Gray, using his, it's like, it's almost the same instance as picking that lock. It's like, this is something only a human could do. This is something that, you need to have that emotional as a human. Stem couldn't do this. Stem would be looking for floor plans or a fucking plane to crash in on this guy, but he wouldn't psychologically fuck with Fisk. And I was like, that's cool. I really like that. I really dig the fact that it actually, despite all the amazing fights in this, and I think that we also kind of need this scene right here because we've seen, again, yeah, we had the car chase and that was kind of great, but then it also, like you said, Zoeb, it just came right back to Stem doing it. Versus this one is like, you can't get out of it that easy. There's no car to throw at him. You have to be the one to take control and push him to the edge of this. But I really do like Fisk right here. Like, I do think he kind of has that Magneto, like, I don't hurt another mutant. Like, I wouldn't do that unless I have to. He's like, because you're like me. Destroying you would be like destroying a plate glass window. It's like, I wouldn't do that because that's just, I don't care about these humans, but you and I are different.
It's also good to just know that he's not a two-dimensional, like super two-dimensional character. Like, he has his own goals and motivations and stuff. And while he does end up being like a pawn in the chess game, it's just cool to know that there's more about him, which also, again, ties in the fucking world building of this film, which I think is just so great.
Absolutely.
I keep coming back to that. And also the lighting in this scene. Holy shit.
It looks great.
I love the blues. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's very Blade Runner.
Whannell said about the scene, I definitely made sure to note in the script that the way the characters were moving and the fighting was strange and stilted in the way that only a computer would fight. So,
yeah,
and that's
100%.
Exactly how it comes out. Like, it is... Fuck, this is a great fight scene. I wish it was longer. I honestly wish it was a little bit longer just because it's so good. And that's the thing with this movie. It leaves you wanting more. So I really fucking hope it gets a sequel and we get way more of this sort of shit. But because goddamn, this is one awesome fight scene with such great camera work. Going to the point where, he's on the floor and he's got a gun pointed at him and Stem's like, I've exhausted all options. Like, you really do feel like, oh, this could be it for our hero, like, which is cool writing. But this is when it comes to the symbiotic relationship I was talking about earlier, which I love, where it's like, okay, everything a machine or a computer can do is done, right? But this is where the human element comes in. He knows, I can get to his emotions. I can throw him off. By doing something unpredictable that a computer can't predict, by doing something very human, I can actually gain the advantage here. So by bringing up his brother, getting him more emotional,
right. He was no soldier.
That creates an opening for STEM. Yeah, like fuck, man. Saying it to anyone in the military, that would be so like fuck. That would just really hit him hard.
Well, and one thing I really, really like about Fist, because I read some reviews and stuff about this movie today. I was just kind of beefing up and doing some research, and a lot of people were like, I feel like the villains are just kind of like two-dimensional. And I'm like, well, yeah, the henchman, like the dude who's loading his arm in the hallway. I mean, I don't even think he has any fucking lines,
Yeah.
So it's interesting seeing Fisk when he closes Toland's eyes. He's like, you didn't deserve to die like this. Or when they confront Manny in the bar, he's like, you don't have to take any more bullets for me. And I was like, dude, that's you sticking up for your guy. And be like, no, you've done enough for me. And I was like, that's actually kind of admirable for someone who's supposed to be our main villain. And I just thought that was really cool. And I think some of the villains are two-dimensional and stuff. Like, yeah, I mean, not so much Aaron and not so much Stem, but they're kind of cannon fodder. For an action film, we've got to just drop 3 or 4 people that don't really mean a whole lot, but fuck, what is Fist's brother's name? I keep fucking it up. The first guy he kills. Fist, anyway. Okay, yeah. When he kills him, we do get the feeling of like, we see all the drugs on the table. We see the neighborhood. I think that it really just takes somebody to piece that together and go, all these other guys are living in like really nice houses and are wearing nice clothes, and they're kind of taking care of themselves, versus this guy, you kind of, you see all the drugs on the table, you see the neighborhood, piece it together. This he's a drug addict. And it's like, is that maybe stereotypical bad guy bullshit? Like maybe, but in contrast with everybody else, that's still very different from, the guy with the black curly hair or Fisk or Toland. That's very different from them. So I think that's not a fair criticism for the fact that this movie is an hour 40. I think that we get just enough. Maybe we could have used a little bit more, but I mean, I wouldn't waste the time on that,
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we get just enough. Like, I don't want any more. I don't want any less. I think it's perfect as it is, because, the way this actor, I don't know his name, but the guy who plays Fisk, if you kind of like if you look at the way he looks at things and the way he kind of like carries himself, he's kind of like, you learn a lot about Fisk in the way that he kind of moves, in the way that the way that he expresses emotion with his lines. It tells a lot, it says a lot. You don't need a lot of backstory. You don't need a lot of lines in order to effectively flesh out a character. But yeah.
Right, and that's Benedict Hardy, by the way, is Fisk.
Boom.
Yeah, and to be fair, like the whole concept of like my people are superior to your people has been done before, but what you need to remember
since the dawn
is,
of
like,
man, that's been done.
Yeah, and it's like you could like to like someone who's just watching this in passing, not really paying attention, they could be like, oh, it's generic, it's been done before, it's two-dimensional. But you got to remember, that's not the forefront of the drama here. That's like the B plot. The main thing is, no, the big overarching thing is this robot taking control of this guy's mind, of Gray's mind.
Well, I'd argue, I mean, like, this is going to sound pretty degrading to the movie, but I'd argue that pretty much no single element by itself or individual part of this movie is original. But if you mix them all together, it creates an original film.
Well,
right. It's like the sum of the whole is not greater
very much
than
like
the part,
Tarantino movies, right? I mean, like Tarantino is on the record as like taking things from other movies that he grew up loving, but like if you mix them together, like you get that Tarantino-esque film, right?
I agree. It's sort of like I always compare great movies with terrible movies, but I love it as a way to just compare notes. In the previous Midnight Double Feature episode, upcoming attractions, I was talking about Coffee and Kareem and how it's a very generic plot of buddy cop trying to like stop the corrupt police and stuff. But what I was saying with that is like, because that's a comedy movie, you're not there for the plot. It's been done before. What you should be judging a film like that by is is it funny or not? Is it achieving what it's setting out to do? And I think that applies to this film here. Like, it's got a bunch of things. Yeah, you have seen it before, but what makes it great is the way it's executed, the way it blends in with other elements. That's what makes Upgrade so fucking good. And where a film like Coffee and Kareem fails is because it doesn't go the extra mile with that shit. It just does what you've seen before and not as well.
Boom.
Boom.
Gray impales.
Yes.
I concur. Gray impales Fisk on a broken piece of glass. Yikes.
Ooh.
Yikes.
Love it. Give me them R18 deaths.
Stem urges Gray to look into the fact that someone paid Fisk, right? Again, another little Stem breadcrumb that he wants Gray to follow. He picks up the phone and we find out that it's Erin. Gray arrives at Erin's estate, takes out the two guards as if he's on autopilot. Love it. I love the lack of effort given to it. It's fantastic.
Well, and there's something really badass about him coming down the steps. By the way, it's a terrifying shot. That's like death incarnate. But we see that exact same shot the first time, and it's him and Asha coming down the steps, and it's very brightly lit, and it's this very happy kind of like
the contrast.
But then
fantastic.
this time, right, he's just totally shrouded in darkness. It's fucking great.
One of my favorite lines.
How incredible! How incredible is the part where he shoots those two guys in the hallway? By the way,
yeah, it's good shit.
Just like you said, they does not give a shit.
The widget you spent your entire life creating is here to kill you now. Fucking love it, dude. But look, Colin, talk to me about this scene. Here we go with the final scene.
Well, and I think this is fantastic because and one thing we kind of skipped over that I don't want to go by is when he's in the bed and he's not wanting to get up. I believe that Stem says something right there where he's like, "You're just a human with a brain. Like you can snap that brain. Like you can fuck it up by trying to fight me." And I don't know if he sets it up exactly right there, but it is set up, and it is said at least a couple of times before we hit our climax here. And one of the things that I love is the fact that we think it's Fisk. Okay, well, it's not Fisk. It's Aaron. It's like, okay, cool. Well, it's not Aaron. It's Stem. And it's like the thing that has been propelling the movie forward has actually been, like the antagonist the whole time. But I love the scene. I love Cortez coming in, and him just totally fucking her shit up. But the way that this whole scene works is fantastic. I think that, again, him fighting for control of Stem. We haven't actually seen him be able to really do this yet. And it's like, whoa, he can actually do that? It's like, no, yes, but like, no, you can, but you actually kind of can't. It's like, it's almost like a vampire being in the sun. It's like, yeah, you can do that, but you can only do it for maybe like 30 seconds or you're fucking dead. So I think it's cool to actually see the limitations and to see stuff come back with the knife that he carved up Tolan with, he still has. It's like, oh shit, this is really cool. But the fact that we've got everything kind of wrapped up here where, of course, Aaron is like shitting his pants wrapped up against Aaron could just like go to the wall and pick up a gun and blow his brains out, but he's such a puss that like he can't fucking do anything. Like
big old
this guy probably... Yeah, this guy probably doesn't even wash his own ass. He's not going to be able to do anything because he even has the drop on him at some point. Like he's got the gun and he's like, I haven't run the company for years. Dude, stop talking and shoot him in the fucking face. Like stop. Like, why are you still talking? But I think it's really interesting this whole scene with seeing him stab himself in the hand and trying to fight off. Trying to fight off Stem, and even to the point where he gets Cortez up against the wall and he's like, stop me, tase me and make this stop. And I was like, dude, brilliant. That totally makes sense, just to give this thing an electric shock to drop it. Cause it's believed she would have a fucking taser on her. What cop doesn't, but I mean, what did you guys think about this?
So like kind of a lot of what you said, obviously, I love the shot of him, getting up. Like I love the movement of him getting up. I love what else? I love how he's like resisting Stem. I love the whole mix. I love seeing a Mexican standoff in the climax at the end of a film. That's always been cool to me. Mexican standoffs are. Well, it's not so much a Mexican standoff because there's not so many guns, but it has that vibe, which I love. And just the Terminator element here is at maximum capacity, the whole picking her up by the throat and stuff. It is fearful, and it is, I think it's the first time where it's not exactly the first time, but like it's the first time it's very obvious where Gray has no control. Like he's begging Stem to stop, and he keeps doing it. It just occurred to me now with the one of the earlier murders. Like he tells Stem to stop, and Stem keeps going. He has to tell him a second time. So I guess that really shows like how Stem always intended to kill all these people. But it is petrifying, all this shit here. The fact he has to stab himself in the hand to try and stop.
The fact that he uses that hand like with the knife in it to stab Aaron.
Oh my God, how cool is that, right?
Yeah, that's great. The thing that's interesting is the fact that he says that Gray doesn't have any implants in him at all, which I was like that, which I feel like we should establish that a little bit earlier. I think if they had said like, you're a rare kind, you don't even have the stuff in your teeth, like you don't have any, like if it were shown that he were more natural, because I mean, Cortez, what does she have? She doesn't have anything. He could have gone after Cortez. It's like there's a lot of different people I feel like he could have gone after. But with Gray, I think there, I don't know. I feel like there should be something there that just separates him from everybody else a little bit more. Because it's like, you could have gone after anybody. Why did you pick this guy? Maybe not everybody has these implants. Obviously, he doesn't have a shotgun arm or X-ray vision or anything like that.
I'm thinking it's
but I feel
Gray's
like that's
connection
most people.
or closeness to Asha, who is Cobalt, right?
Oh, I thought it might have something to do with the cars. Like the fact that he can come out to here and stuff. But maybe.
I don't know. I just thought that was a factor.
Because actually, that totally makes sense. Because he says, I don't leave the house much. So, of course, Stem's not getting up and walking. He's not walking out of there. So if Asha and Gray are some of the only people to come here, that absolutely makes sense. The fact that it's like, hey, that guy doesn't have any implants,
sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say, I wouldn't surprise me if Asha was like, she had like Bluetooth in her head, or she had like, the modern day, the 22nd century version of like LASIK, or eye surgery or whatever. It wouldn't surprise me if she had something where she was like a little bit upgraded, obviously not shotgun arm. But it wouldn't surprise me if she had something like that. So she couldn't work, but we need Gray, Yeah,
that's was my assumption. Like they never explicitly say, I don't think they ever explicitly say that Gray doesn't have anything, but I think it's heavily implied. Because you can't get that from context, how much he hates it all and how he doesn't understand it. And
sure.
I assumed, my assumption, maybe this is me just adding my own projection to the film possibly, but my interpretation was the reason he was selected is, one, it's very rare to find like a human body without any modifications. But I also assumed it would probably have something to do with like, he's male, he's fit, he's tall. Like Stem as a robot would want the most perfect body it can find. And I'm guessing Gray was like one of them. And probably also things like proximity as in location to Aaron was probably a part of it too.
Well, actually, Colin, now that you mention it, I'm actually thinking about why Stem didn't go after Cortez instead of Gray. Because wouldn't it be easier to like, do this whole plan with a police officer on your side?
Yeah. I could see that, but I also think that now where we have Gray, the only connection Gray has left to this world is like his mom. So like Aaron's dead, Cortez is dead, Asha's dead. It's like, why not get this guy who's like, for all intents and purposes, like an orphan? I think if you take, I don't know,
someone with a family.
I feel like if you take, right, you take over someone with a family, people start asking questions and trying to fuck with shit. But my favorite thing is, she tases him, and of course we get the revelation of everything, which, it makes sense. I feel like a lot of the time this is just the villain, like, giving their big plan because movie, but it feels like something Aaron would be like, he is that kind of person to be like, no, hold on, let me explain this to you. Like, it makes sense for character-wise. It makes sense that he would explain this to him. But of course, sorry, go ahead.
Before we go deep into that big twist and how amazing it is, I just picked up on something, just piecing two things you've said separately throughout this podcast together. So maybe this is our own little twist here. But you remember before you mentioned Cortez was waving to that girl? If that girl was maybe related to her, like maybe her daughter or whatever, maybe if Cortez...
because she's black? Okay.
No, but I'm saying... well, it's a weird thing to point out, right? Like I know, like maybe it was included for a reason, like maybe...
Could be a deleted
really
scene.
Doing a deep dive here. I'm really looking, but if Cortez is a family, then if her body, her person goes missing, there's more people out there to like look for her. But with what what we're saying about Gray, you know, he's only got the mother in the picture and the wife who's dead. So
Sure.
maybe I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm grasping at straws here.
Also, I don't really think we need to go further into the twist, do we? Like, I mean, it happens.
Well,
Right.
It's just amazing, and it just reminds me of Saw. I just wanted to
There
say.
you go. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't really have much.
And I love
more to
how
add
there's a
about
double
that.
twist as well.
Yeah.
I just think, it's cool that there's also like there's that double twist, how you think that's it. Wow, it's a really cool ending of a movie. And then it happens again. Like, that's extra awesome. I would say.
I remember the first time I saw this with you, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. So, you know, the movie's over. He's going to go kill Aaron or whatever. And then, like this was actually genuinely surprising. I didn't see any twist coming because this is not really the kind of movie I expect a twist out of, you know?
Yeah.
Now, are you talking about the twist of it being STEM or STEM taking over Gray? Like, is that the twist you're talking about was surprising or?
For me, it was
I'm
the second.
saying
The second twist.
Yeah, and I'm saying the fact that there's a double twist at all. Like, the first twist kind of catches you off guard, so you really don't see the second one of STEM taking over Gray as well. That's just incredible.
It's almost like in movies where you have the false climax, you know, and you're like, oh, we're over. And it's like, no, it's not over. Like, we still got 15 minutes left, you know, or whatever. So I think it's my favorite thing, again, you know, like you said, Joe, the twist has happened. Let's move past it. Like, I think the thing that really, when he puts the gun to his neck and he's like, I'm the one in control. And we almost like, I'm in the theater watching this and Gray wakes up in the hospital and I was like, don't you dare. Don't you fucking dare do that to me. And I was like, I will be so, if we wake up and this is like some Wizard of Oz bullshit, I will go fucking upgrade on all these people in the theater. Like,
yes. I fell for it too. Yeah, I fell for it too. I'm like, oh shit, like they kind of, but you don't realize they've set up the crumb trails along the way. Like, even before the climax, like he has a nightmare or daydream where he sees her again. Like they keep bringing her up. Like, you don't realize they're setting up this other twist too. But my stupid ass fell for it as well.
Well, I think there's also something really telling. And when Gray wakes up, he lifts his arm up. He's got the wedding ring on. And it's like, dude, they took his wedding ring when they attacked him. Like, I understand that probably all went out the window and stuff, but like it would be kind of weird just to have this, you know, oh, we had a wreck. He's been out for 2 days. Dude, this guy has like massive brain trauma, by the way. Don't just walk in and be like, hey, like, no, this guy's going to be like way worse than being a quadriplegic if he's been out for 2 days. Like, he's going to have some serious fucking problems. But I love, again, we haven't seen Asha since the VR thing. So when she comes in and it's this beautiful room and she's wearing white, he's wearing white, the bed's white, all the lights coming in, this is all divine. This is all angelic. And it's so set up the way. So when we snap back to Cortez and she's like, Gray, this isn't you. Gray's not here anymore. His mind's in a better place where he wants to be. And you're like, dude, I was shook in the fucking theater. I was like,
I needed his mind to break, and he broke it.
Dude, goddamn, man,
scary.
Guys, fucking talk to me about this shit, please. I'm over here like coming in my own hand. Somebody, please.
Yeah, man,
it's petrifying knowing he's like basically in a lifelong coma now.
Yeah,
that's incredible, and like the fact that like, you know, maybe STEM actually thinks that's what people prefer. Like, you know, he's seen the VR. He had the conversation with alcohol. You know, in his mind, is like STEM's mind. It probably goes, "This is a win-win." You know,
dude, it is. I really do. I kind of agree. If that's what STEM thinks,
yeah,
right. Because at the end of this, let's say he kills STEM or he kills Aaron, and it's all said and done. You go back to being a fucking quadriplegic in prison for the rest of your life.
But you have no free will. That's the scary thing, though. You lose your free will.
But he doesn't know that. He has no idea. He doesn't know that he doesn't have free will. He just thinks that he's been asleep for 2 days. It's like, isn't that like, doesn't he get what he wanted? Like, he even says like, Aaron's like, the technology can't bring her back, but it's like, but it kind of does. Like, the technology is the reason she comes back. It snaps his mind and puts him. It makes me think of the Inception thing. Like, doesn't matter if the totem keeps spinning because here you are. Like, it doesn't matter anymore because you've kind of gotten what you want. Like, even if it's a lie, it's the lie that you want. And even though that's kind of fucked up, and I love that he repeats that line, like, reality's harsh, you know, this one's even better or whatever the fuck he says. I just think that's utterly fantastic. And dude, like Gray's pupils, like his eyes, like even though it's so dark in that room, like you can tell there's a total shift in his face and stuff. But of course, once he shoots Cortez and stuff, there's really something interesting about when now Stem pulls the knife out of his hand and he tastes the blood. Something really interesting when we see Gray for the first time tightening up the engine lug nut, whacks his finger, blood on his finger, licks the blood. And I was like, that's really crazy that we actually see the parallel at the beginning and the end of this movie, but unbelievable, amazing shot with like all of the red behind him. And I'm like, dude, that's the end of the movie. And that was like the poster all over cinemas when I was like, holy shit, that's crazy.
Do you think the licking of his finger signifies that Gray
Gray's still in there?
Is still in there, and he can one day maybe regain control?
I don't think he's got any shot in hell to regain control, because I think he's happy and content with where he is. But I do think that is a signal that Gray is in there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I kind of took it as like it's the curiosity. It's like now I can taste things. Now I can.
Yeah.
I'm
a real boy now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Also, let's not ignore the fact of like the cool performance of maybe not the body so much, but like the voice. The fact that his now voice is more robotic in this scene, like it's extra, it adds to the creepiness for me. Like this is horrifying for the record for me. I don't know about you guys, but like sure he might be happier, but the fact that it can do this and yeah, he's lost all control of his reality, fucking petrifying to me. Like this is horrific to me.
See, it's horrific if you know, but if you don't know, like that's the thing is like he doesn't have the spinning top. He doesn't have to worry about that. He doesn't have any doubt. All he knows is that he's been asleep. Like it would be different if he looked up at Asha and she was like, and she was like glitching or something like, oh my God, I'm in like, if he knew the horror of the situation, like what Zoheb said, I think that's when he's like, I've got to get out of here and somehow I can fight my way back or whatever. I pray to God they don't do a sequel to this. Really, like I think that this is a great. Right, I think this is a great one and done, and I just don't see how a second story would continue. But please, gentlemen, let me hit you with this final track. Again, by Jed Palmer. This is called a Better Place. You can find this Spotify, YouTube. Let me hit you with this real quick. Track is amazing, and I've listened to that song, like it gave me a total like Inception Hans Zimmer time like shit, and that's all I could think of, and I was like, dude, this is brilliant. And it's just I love this is like one of the best endings to a movie I've seen in such a long time, where it's like it's not the hero comes in and saves the day and he learns his lessons and stuff like that. It's like at some point, Gray went beyond the point of saving, that he could not come back from this. And even though it might have been Stem like controlling shit, at some point, Gray went from the white to the gray to the black. And it was his choice to do that. I'm not saying he deserves to have his mind lost in this thing forever, but it's what he wants. And it's like, that is such an amazing, how many stories do you see where like the good guy and the bad guy win and we're all kind of okay with it at the end? And I was like,
I disagree. I don't think Gray wants this at all. No, it's because he's fake. Gray hates Stem. Gray disagrees with every decision Stem has done along the way. If Gray found out about this, he would never want it. Like, Gray did not want to kill any of those people. He begged him not to hurt Cortez. And his mind, remember, his mind is broken. It's a fragile mind that's been shattered into millions of pieces. Like, this is not a win-win situation, in my opinion. Like, he's happy, but he's not happy for good reasons. Like, I think, if there was ever a glitch, and he came out and he realized it all, like, he doesn't want his body going around doing all this fucked up shit. Because you got to think, like, what is the intentions of STEM? What happens now? STEM maybe wants what Fisk wants. Maybe wants to turn everyone into a robot. Maybe wants to do all this other shit. Who knows? Who knows if they'll do a sequel? And I know there's been talks about it, whatever. And is there more than one STEM? I'm unsure about that. But, like, shit's about to go down. STEM's not going to go off and live happily ever after in a farm.
Right.
No, STEM's going to take over the fucking world using Grey's body. And so, like, it is kind of a win for Grey because he is happy, but it's like, it's a false happiness. It's a fake happiness. And if he ever found out what's happening, he would not be okay with this.
Well, I don't know enough about Grey to like past the fact that he is happy with Asha in his kind of like mind, to assume that, you know, maybe like Grey doesn't really like this. Like, you know, I don't really know enough about the character of Grey. Like, all I know...
But Grey doesn't like STEM, what STEM's doing.
But I know,
right?
But what I know for a certainty is that Grey no longer wants to be alive, and he wants to be with Asha.
Right. And I was going to say, I think it also... There was a point where Grey, you know, he was calling the cops, and he was like, you know, he chose to stay quiet about STEM. Like, he made a choice where it's like, I could have turned all these guys in and had the justice that I wanted, but I would have had to have given up full body movement. Like, I would have had to have given all of that up. And this is before he, you know, releases all control and stuff like that. So he could have just picked up the phone and done it. So I think the thing is, like, he made a choice where it was like, you know, I think he's not dumb. He knows the route that this is going to go down. Like, if you go to these people's houses and you're still in full control of this body, like, you know what's going to go down. Like, you're in this terrible neighborhood, like, searching these guys down. Like, what do you think's going to happen? You're just going to, like, beat them up and arrest them, and that's it. Like, I think he is somewhat shocked when, like, the killing starts happening. But I mean, this is a guy who grew up in New Crown. This is a guy who works with his hands on cars and stuff. Like, probably knew some roughneck people. And what I'm saying is, like, I think that it's naive to say, like, oh, he didn't know that any of these killings were going to happen. I'm not saying he deserves any of this stuff, by the way. I'm just saying that at some point, I feel like the character makes a choice, and the character's like, I will go this seedy underground route instead of telling the cop, hey, this is what happened. These are who these guys are. I'm in way over my head. This all needs to stop right now. And he tries to do that, but he has hit the point of no return. And that's when STEM's like, no, I have control now. And it's like, he does become an unwilling participant. I'll definitely give you that. But I think that it's also like, I think that Grey also kind of comes across as a selfish character. I think that he does come across as this, like, this is what I want. And, you know, I don't care. No, I don't think he doesn't want to just start killing people, but he's shocked by the killings, but I don't think he feels bad about them at all. These guys are murderers.
Nah. When he kills Fisk, he says, I'm not proud of this. Like, I have to disagree, man. I really don't think Grey set out to do most of this. I think he literally was just trying to find evidence to give to Cortez. Because remember, he waited for that first guy to leave the house before he went in. You know, he didn't go there with the intent to hurt. He just wanted to collect evidence. But unfortunately, by the time he gets to that point of no return, it's not the fact that, oh, he's done so much illegal shit and all this bad stuff. It's like, no, the point of no return is the fact that STEM has taken over his body. He doesn't have a choice. Because STEM is like, I'm trying to kill these people. I'm trying to cut these loose ends. So, like, I see where you're coming from, and, like, I can respect that interpretation, but, like, I don't see it that way personally.
Sure, no, and that's what's great about film and stuff. It's like, I think there's something interesting about if the murders really bothered you that much after the first. Because I mean, let's look at it, Zoe. Let's look at it from a legal standpoint. I think that if you're sitting there and you're saying, hey, I have this thing implanted in me, I didn't know it was going to do this.
This
People
is what I
are
was talking
dead,
about with
but I
intent
know.
earlier. Like him kind of like willingly giving over access to STEM to work on Tolan. Like, this is kind of like what I was talking about.
I think also Grey isn't in a normal state of mind through the majority of this film. Like, he's suicidal. Sure. He's suicidal. He's depressed. He's in shock when he makes a lot of his decisions early on.
At no point,
like, he never comes across as like a particularly really smart guy.
Well, I mean,
I'm not saying he's dumb, but
at no point do we get like an inkling from Grey that he has found like a new lease on life and he wants to live. Like, you know, like he's always constantly like he never changed. We don't see him change his mind about wanting to die.
I think a nice way to like close this off could be like, hey, listeners, are you on Team Matt or Team Colin? Let us know in the comments. Let us know on the after party.
Zoheb being the lawyer, he's our judge, and like I'm the fucking, you know, whatever. You're the plaintiff, I'm the defendant, whatever it is. But I think that eventually you right. I said on a few other things too. No, but I think there's a point where he could, if justice and all of this stuff was what he really wanted, that he could have said, hey, I'm not in control of my body, or he actually is in control. He's like, something happened. I'm not proud of this. This needs to stop. I'm in over my head. But he has that point where it's too, and it's not his fault that he thinks he's giving STEM freedom from Aaron, but what he doesn't know is that he's giving STEM freedom from everybody. So I think that's what kind of... Right. That's what kind of sucks, is that he doesn't know that he's going down that route. But I think ultimately, you know, where would he be happier at? Would he be happier with something that he doesn't know is a lie? Or would he be happier waking up saying, I'm a quadriplegic now and all these people are dead and now I have to go to prison for the rest of my life? It's like, I get it. That's the intent and stuff. But I think that eventually you'll hit a point where it's like, yeah, you could have pulled the plug on this and you could have told somebody, but you didn't. And I'm like, I think that's the big push for me. But I love the ending. I love the fact that, you know, we do kind of get the best of both worlds. We see him in this white, beautiful place with this beautiful woman, and he's back where the story started. The story, you know, if you look at it in a linear fashion, it took this huge, like, kind of divergent, but it went back into the regular timeline. Like, he's back where it all started from. But Zoe, you were saying something about a sequel. Like, I know I've heard that they don't want to do it. I've heard that they do want to do it. I hope they don't. Like, what do you guys think? Do you have any info on that, or?
So Whannell says that he wants to make a sequel if he had a bit more money. Like that's the only really the only time that he's commented on it. I actually think it was last year. He said, you know, if I had a bit of a bigger budget, I'd like to flesh out another sequel. This was my question to you guys. Where do you see it going? Because I think this is kind of wrapped up pretty perfectly. You know, like I'm happy with this as it is.
I can see this really being like a John Wick situation where there are enough things in the world building and stuff and leftover things, you could really spread them out without introducing too much new shit. Like Jamie's hacker character looks like there's some sort of maybe a war or something going on. I feel like there might be more than, like, STEM has more than one body or more than one interface, because when STEM is talking in the house at the end, like, he's not doing that. I don't think he's doing that through Gray. So I think STEM is like a kind of like the internet. It can appear on multiple devices or something, maybe.
Like so Ultron?
Yeah, or something. But like, it'd be really weird to see. Yeah, exactly like Ultron, actually. But like, it'd be really weird to see, like, how would you do a sequel? Because like, if I just went off like, off the top of my head here, like, okay, one thing could, Gray starts regaining autonomy and it's like a battle between him and STEM. Maybe they've got like some sort of similar goal and they work together. Like maybe STEM needs Gray's help, so he wakes Gray up and they work together like they did this. Or maybe it's a whole new character who has to fight STEM/Gray. Or maybe, you know, STEM is, you know, it's going after multiple ones. Like, I feel like there are a few different routes you could go down, and I think it depends on like where Leigh or whoever directs wants to go into, because you could take this down like a weird superhero route, which I hope they don't do, or an action. I don't want it to be an action movie. Like, please, whatever you do, keep it horrific. Because this is not just a straight up generic action sci-fi. It's got elements of horror in there a little bit, which is, I think, what makes it special. So please, whatever you do, I'm speaking to filmmakers here, keep that vibe to it. And it's going to be really hard to try and beat this film. So it's okay to, I think, also do something different. Like, will they want to do like a Terminator 1, Terminator 2 situation maybe? I don't know. Or do you want to make it more about, do you want to dive into like the psychology of it all? There's so many options.
Well, like what you said with T1, T2, could it be something where, you know, ultimately, you know, STEM has done this because he's like, I needed a body to fight something that's coming. Like, even though I did horrible things, I did them because something way worse is coming from somewhere else, maybe and again, that's just me spitballing, fucking, Colin fucking screenwriter over here making shit up. But I think the thing is, this movie started with a character that I really fell for. It started with a character, and it was a character driven story. It was a revenge film, and it's very much so, and like The Punisher, The Crow, it's very much so like that. So I think that, it actually kind of reminds me of almost like Brightburn in a way. And I think that you can take something like Brightburn, where it's like this character who starts developing powers and doesn't really know what's going on and stuff. But Brightburn, I can see that going where it's like, okay, this kid is like evil Superman, so we're going to find some kid who's like good Superman, and we'll have a battle. But I don't see somebody, if like Aaron said, I'm the only one who could build a stem, and he's dead. So it's like, so how do we build other stems? How does this continue going? I just really think that they should just cut it out from here, unless there's any way for Gray to come back. Like, it actually makes me think of a run in the Spider-Man comics where Doc Ock takes over Peter Parker's body, and Peter Parker is he's like lost inside, but eventually he's able to come back out. And I think if they could pull it off some way, my faith here is in Leigh Whannell, and I don't think Leigh Whannell is going to do one if it's not there. I don't think he's going to come back and say, hey, we offer now, here's $20 million, do an upgrade too. I don't think that. I think that he, Insidious Chapter 3, he hasn't really continued on with, he could have made an upgrade 2, but he, like you said, he even thought they were calling him in for upgrade 2. So I don't think that he'll do it unless the material's really there. I have a faith in him. I
would like to remind you that there are, I think, 8 sequels to Saw, but he wasn't involved in most of them.
Right.
So,
that's what I'm saying is like, I with his involvement in just the first one, and then maybe like the third, Insidious, and now with Upgrade, now with Invisible Man, I kind of see him as almost like an Edgar Wright, like, we're doing a one and done. Maybe if the story's there, we do a second one, Oh, and by the way, happy birthday to Edgar Wright, by the way. It's his birthday today. But Zoe, what do you think? What do you think of a sequel?
I don't want one. I'm good.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at as well.
I mean,
yeah.
It seems like no matter which direction they go, it either wouldn't suit the it wouldn't suit the tone that the first one is built up, or B, they'd be stretching. Like, like we'd be getting like some kind of explanation to continue the storyline, and it's going to be like it'll feel, I think, too over-engineered, as if like, oh look, we developed this sequel, with the hopes that we laid enough groundwork in the first one. There's not enough groundwork in this one to justify a sequel, I think. I'm sorry. Like, no matter how much world building
that's the problem John Wick had. That's the problem John Wick had. Like, the whole point of 2, like, they spend half the movie trying to set up a reason for him to have those fights again, Not saying I don't like those John Wick sequels, but, they have, like, other gimmicks to bring me in on board for.
Absolutely. I do just want to quickly mention at the end here, the ending of this really, really reminded me of Ex Machina, like to the point where if you were to do an elevator pitch for Upgrade and an elevator pitch for Ex Machina, I think that'd be very similar. Like, for example, a malevolent AI breaks out of its confinements for the entire movie and ends up in the world at large. Like, with nobody knowing that it's an actual AI. I think the end point for both movies is very similar, but the way they both kind of like go about it, getting there couldn't be more different. For example, in Ex Machina, spoilers, the robot or the AI uses psychological tactics, whereas here it's a bit more, I guess, brutal and actual physical methods. But yeah, I didn't want to go past that. But yeah, guys, you want to wrap this up? Holy fuck! It's a good episode when we talk about the movie 2 times longer than the actual movie is.
Right. No, I mean, I'll jump in with closing thoughts. I obviously I've said just about everything I'm going to say. I really love this movie. I don't want to see the upgraded extended universe. I think this is a great one and done. I think this is a great way for Leigh Whannell for his like for his first original film written and directed by him, if you don't go back to that well, it was fine. If the story comes and you're able to pull it off, do it. But just for the love of God, like, don't do it just to do it. And I have faith in him that he won't. And ultimately, I really think this is one of the best sci-fi films that has come out in a while. It's a great action film. It's great body horror. I still think Logan Marshall Green would have been a badass Mad Max. I would fucking love him and it's just something also about seeing Leigh Whannell all over this that I'm like, dude, Australian as fuck. Like, I would love to see Logan Marshall Green as Mad Max. But I love this thing, and I ultimately, I don't have any problem. Like, a lot of the time I'm like, dude, this episode's going on for too long. We need to cut. I don't give a fuck. I love this goddamn movie, and I'm glad we sat here and chatted about it as long as we did. And I hope you guys enjoy the episode as much as we enjoy this movie.
Yeah, I don't have much to say that I haven't got much to say that I haven't said already. I fucking love this movie. It's fucking amazing script, great acting, great sound, amazing soundtrack. Love the colors. It's fucking inspirational as shit to me. The fact that they were able to do this on such a low budget. I'm sure having the support of Blumhouse, Screen Victoria, and using the Australian producers offset would have helped a lot. But it's a good movie, dude. It's a fucking modern masterpiece. And you know what? Come to think of it, a few weeks ago, Upcoming Attractions, Zoheb, we talked about underrated movies. Why this movie is fucking underrated as shit.
For sure.
Because while people do, like, people who see it often do love it, not enough people know about it. Because the quality does not match the exposure.
And that was like our metric for measuring like underrated, right? Because underrated is a hard thing to measure. But yeah,
very, very hard. Yeah,
I agree. This movie's fantastic. I mean, it's very like deceivingly simple. Like, on its surface, it might be a movie that you can take, like, it's a violent movie. Like, it's about an AI that takes over. Blah 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 blah. But, if you kind of like peel back the layers of it, there's actually like much more in there that you can talk about, kind of like getting into the ex machina of it all, like what is, like the morality of AI and whether it exists or not, and whether, whether I guess intent might be a thing as well, like whether Grey might be in on this. Like, you can go back and listen to this 3-hour, 10-minute podcast and kind of like, like pick out things that you might not have like realized looking into it the first time watching this movie. But yeah, this is a fantastically well-directed movie. For the longest time, I thought this was Leigh Whannell's first film, but again, like as we just talked about, that's not the case. It is a movie that is not original in terms of like its individual parts, but if you throw them all together, which Leigh Whannell has, it feels like an original film. And in that case, like, I talked about Bloodshot a lot in Upcoming Attractions and how reminiscent it was of RoboCop and just how meh it felt. This movie does the same thing. Very reminiscent of RoboCop, but it feels fresh. It feels like a different take on things, and it just 100% is fun from start to finish. So yeah, if you know someone who hasn't seen this movie and is into the action genre, into the body horror genre, into anything that goes into discussing the idea of artificial intelligence, I would highly recommending this movie to them. So yeah, Colin, why don't you close us out?
Well, I do want to read off 2 comments really quick. Just we only got a couple of comments on this one because people have no fucking taste. No, I'm just kidding. Luke Newnham, or is that Newnham? I'm saying that right? I think you guys know Luke Newnham. I love this guy's always chiming in. He's always posting really funny shit. I think he's new to the group and stuff. Relatively. Right, yeah, and I love the stuff he posts. He's a great guy. Love everything about this movie. Was my favorite film of 2018 and instantly made my top 10 list. Bold statements. And then Ken Tomlin, who's really new to the group, really fucking funny guy. He's a fan of Fallout. Anybody who's a fan of Fallout is a fan of mine. But Ken says, I really enjoyed it. It was well made. I especially liked the ending. Wasn't what I was expecting. Most movies like this have a quote unquote happy ending, or at least a predictable one. I'm glad they didn't go that route. 8 out of 10 for me. I think that's right on the nose. That's what I love about that ending. I think I've said that multiple times in this fucking, marathon Ben-Hur fucking length podcast that we have. But I knew this was going to happen. I know we joke about the length and stuff, but it's the three of us on here. It's Australian-made film. It's fucking Leigh Whannell. It's a badass movie, and I could literally sit here and talk about this for probably another hour and have no fucking problem with it. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for staying late, listening all the way through this shit. Matt, thanks again for coming on. I love having you on for features. It's always a blast, especially again when we get to talk about this kind of shit that's right in you guys' backyard. And I really look forward to doing more of these like Australian written and directed, filmed in the heart of this shit. And I
best believe The Invisible Man is coming up, dude.
Right.
Yes.
Well, and I was like, man, I love, Mad Max, Babadook, Upgrade, all these movies that we've been doing, The Talented Mr. Ripley. No, I'm just kidding. But I love finding these films that we can all kind of culturally just kind of mesh on. But if you guys want your comments read, like Luke and Ken, and you want to come and be a part of our community, you can find us on Facebook at Midnight Double Feature. There's also the group attached to that called the After Party. Everybody's invited. You can come on there and post your funny stuff and comment on our picks we have coming up. You can also find us on Instagram at Midnight Double Feature or on Twitter at MDF Pod. Stop by, rate and review us on iTunes. Leave us a 5-star review if you wouldn't mind, please. Like Zoheb said at the top of the episode, we do have that contest going on right now. That window is starting to close. It's been going on for a minute, but we wanted to give everybody a fair shake just to, if you're new to it or, if you're just kind of an idiot and you can't get, your fucking review it. No, I'm just kidding. And always please stop by, rate and review us on iTunes. You can find us on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, anywhere where you get your major podcasts. If we're not on it, you don't want it. Matt, Zoe, it's been a blast. We will catch you guys next time. See you later. Bye-bye.